So what, is the town showing up then or what? According to what you post in the paper, what'd you post in the paper?
That was,
the
that
town-
was gonna be a meeting, if you guys can make it, there was never.
Did you ask them to come, did you ask them to, why didn't you ask them to come to our meeting? I'm just
I know
asking.
you guys wanted them to come to our meeting. That was interesting. Long day. It was.
Is this different from what you sent out?
No. I'll get a. May have to double row things here.
Excuse me, dear.
I think we're good, thank you. No, you're fine. How many more we got out there?
That's the last chair we've got up.
I got more chairs, I got three spots in here. Is that enough? I can get a.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're fine. Yeah, we're good.
What chairs are out there?
I'm fine too.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's extra. Yeah. Has everybody got an agenda?
I get one.
Okay, David, 5:32, we might as well go ahead and get started.
Is there enough room for everybody?
They said they're happy just standing right there.
Okay. I call the meeting to order. The Jefferson Township Advisory Board meeting on.
Speak up, David.
I call the meeting to order for the Jefferson Township Advisory Board meeting on June 12th at 5:32. All right, approve the minutes from the last meeting
You have copies of the minutes for them guys, Larry?
to sign.
I don't need a copy.
I mean, I just, one
Yeah,
to
I'm
sign,
good.
we just gotta have one
Yeah,
to sign.
Well, I've got a few copies
If you
here.
got one to sign, that's it. I'll
Yeah,
make
that's
a
all we
motion,
need.
Approve the minutes as
You got a
presented.
copy?
Yeah, I just need, well, here, I just need one to sign.
I make the
You don't-
motion to approve it as presented.
Okay. We can use one of these, as long as it's got a signature.
Anybody want a copy? I got a couple of extras.
Anybody want the minutes? Anybody else?
I'll take a copy.
AJ made a motion to accept them.
Well, I wrote them, so
Okay, well then I'll second it. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay,
then I need a copy of these then sometime. Larry,
Signed, yeah.
That
me
are
too.
signed.
well, if you can, once the meeting's over with, if you'd like, I can run copies for you.
We discussing Senate Bill 1.
Yeah, just let me put this in my office so I don't get confused with any other papers. I was at a seminar down in Fishers, I guess. And I've met Abby. Abby's been, she has put on some, spoken at different things that I have attended down there. And she's with an accounting group, and they're well established with the State Board of Accounts. She's given classes down there, and I've been reading through this 1461 and this number 1, And I just think it is extremely confusing. And if we don't do things properly, it can cost the township a lot of money. And so that's why I want Abby, she's very versed in this, and she's doing this same thing with a number of other townships. So Abby, I just want you to, this is Abby Parker, and I just want her to explain it because it's new to me and I don't have enough knowledge on this to try to explain it to you guys. So Abby, go ahead and do your thing.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I will forewarn you, this is like my 5th or 6th one, and I am becoming known as the bearer of bad news. So I apologize in advance for that. The 2025 state legislature was out to get townships and local government this year for whatever reason. So I'm gonna go over to Senate Bill 1 with you, and then we'll go over House Bill 1461. Senate Bill 1 has 2 components: property taxes, in which in 2026 you will receive a 4% growth in your property tax levy. After that, you will receive no growth. Now
What
there's
is the no growth go away?
it ends. No.
2026.
In 2026 is the last year.
Okay, so 2027, we won't get the 4%.
No, your property tax levy will remain stagnant from there on out. Now, you can apply for a levy increase, but that is going to be a huge exception and requires lots of hoops to jump through.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
on that 4%, is that each levy or as a total?
So it's 4% of your civil levy will go up and then 4% of your fire.
So it's basically each levy, fire, okay.
Your debt service will only go up, if you have debt service, will only go up what you need your debt payment to be. And if you had a cum fire fund, it would remain at whatever rate you had.
Thank you.
The second part of that is the local income tax, or commonly referred to as LIT. The current formula, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it is based on prior year levy, except for debt service levies and your prior year LIT distributions. So it's almost rewarding those that have a higher levy. Beginning in 27 for distributions to be received in 28, that formula is changing. And it is all percentage wise. So for townships, the maximum percentage allowed for local income tax for townships is 0.05%. And that is to be distributed among all townships in the county on a per capita prorated basis.
Now, are they gonna have a website that like our township can go and tell us what that is before we do our budget?
Nope, you have me.
Okay.
And there are hoops to jump through for that. As part of the ITA conference, we partner with the Indiana Township Association. We will be providing a packet of information, and I will make sure Larry has it to share with all of you. It'll give you the applicable Indiana code statutes, what those actually mean in normal people language, the deadlines you have to adhere to, what steps you have to take, and a copy of a resolution. Because for local income tax, you have to file a resolution before July 1st in 2027, and you have to provide it to your county council. Because if the Wells County Council decides that they don't want townships to get lit, that 0.05%, they don't have to.
Does that money go somewhere else?
It just
then?
will not be collected by the taxpayers, from the taxpayers, as part of their income withholding. Now, the good news, so best case scenario, if the county establishes the 0.05, the maximum rate for all townships, and if every township has a resolution and requests a distribution from the county, you're looking at getting roughly $36,000 extra in 28 based on your population.
Yeah, but if other townships don't, we get less than that, is that what you're saying?
So if, for example, one township does not apply for it, there's two options. The county can say, sorry, you're out of luck. You didn't sign the paperwork and give it to us in time. Or they can say, we'll forgive you. We'll go ahead and add you into the mix. So you could get more if not all counties requested distributions. Or townships, I'm sorry, if all townships don't request a distribution.
Oh, they'll split it up, whatever is remaining, they'll split it up with the rest of
Yes.
the township. Okay.
And it's all based on the most recent decennial census, so 2020. So those percentages won't change until the 2030 census. So before we move on, any questions about Senate Bill 1?
This was just Senate Bill 1 here.
Yep. So Senate Bill 1, they are withholding your money, not giving you extra money. House Bill 1461, they are literally trying to reach into your pockets and take your money. It is mandated, they even use the word shall, by July 1st, 2020, well, I don't know if it's by July 1st, there's no actual due dates. All townships must establish a road and infrastructure improvement fund. You must, by September 30th, every year, file with the DLGF a capital improvement plan. And this one, there is no date for it, but you will have to sign a resolution and a memorandum of understanding with a city, town, or county within your township's boundaries. And provide 30% of your unrestricted cash balances to that entity for road and infrastructure improvements every year.
30% of our cash balance. So we have money in the bank, you're saying?
So, kind of. The formula for what they call unrestricted is we'll take December 31st, 2025. What you've got in your bank, you add in your projected revenues for 2026. You remove your 2025 budget, and then you remove your capital improvement plan expenditures, and you remove any other obligated funds. So if you've signed a contract or agreement with somebody, you just haven't given them the money yet, 30% of what's left has to go to a city, town, or county.
And that includes our carryover money from years past.
And it will continue on year after year. Now, it will affect your township general fund and your rainy day fund. By statute, your township assistance, your cumulative fire, and your fire fund and debt funds are restricted by statute. So those funds are protected. Nobody can take the 30% bounce for those funds.
You're saying just the general fund?
And rainy day.
are the only two.
And based on some preliminary calculations, if you do a standard 3% increase in your budget, you're looking at giving 45,000 away from your general fund and 6,000 from your rainy day fund.
Okay, you said around 6,000 rainy day, how much from the general fund?
45,000.
45,000.
So, that being said,
So that's just gonna suck our cash out of the
well,
township, basically. We're gonna get our budget covered.
if you play by the rules to a T. Now, this legislation allows for gray area. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to give you the facts in the gray area. It says budget. It doesn't say you have to spend your budget.
We can collect money, we could raise taxes and collect money into our budget, but we wouldn't have to spend the money.
So right now, you generally collect a little bit more money than what you spend based on your budget. If you were, and you've got roughly 140,000 in your general fund cash balance. For argument's sake, if you were to increase your 2026 budget by 140,000 to where on paper it looks like you're gonna end your year with nothing left in the bank, there's nothing left to transfer. You do not have to spend your budget. If you have anticipated capital expenditures, those get removed. There's no evidence right now in the statute that they will follow up to say, did you do this capital project that you said you would? There's also nothing in the statute that says this is what will happen if you don't comply with the law.
This came about from other townships that have a lot of money, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. 'Cause there's some, like, not to bring them up, Harrison Township, I know they just transferred quite a bit of money to the park system in Bluffton, because they've had a lot of money sitting there,
Yeah,
so.
they don't love the
Right.
idea of townships sitting on a lot of money.
Correct, and that's why I think the issue's coming up, that's why they're doing that, is because there's some townships been sitting on a lot of money.
They're also trying to.
But then they're trying to play this ball game. We gotta tax the heck out of our people.
Well, see, you can't.
We can't tax them more, because they cut
They
the
cut, you cannot,
SB1, eliminates the increasing taxes.
so you can't. You cannot increase your tax base. Most townships are gonna receive less than lit. And you have to give 30% of it away. The only plus side to this is, say you choose to give the funds, if you choose to give the funds to, let's say, Wells County.
We get to choose who we give it to?
Yes, but the entity has to be within the township's boundaries.
So we got.
Ossian or the county. The township, whichever entity, can only use the funds for projects within the township's boundaries. And the projects are subject to township approval.
And mainly roads.
It's
right?
roads and infrastructure such as bridges, culverts, stuff like that.
Okay.
You have to sign an MOU and a resolution with somebody.
With MOU again.
Memorandum of understanding. I recommend, and I can provide suggested language. I am not an attorney, so I can't say this is official language. I can provide suggested language for you and your attorneys to look at. That it would be dependent on availability, so you would not actually promise a specific amount of funding to anybody. See why I said I was a bearer of bad news to everybody?
So essentially, we've been paying for years for road maintenance and infrastructure that has not been done. And now we're gonna pay for more of it that's not necessarily gonna get done because you don't have to prove that the capital projects actually happen.
Well, the township is not responsible for the improvement and replacement of roads and infrastructures. So the township would only give money to entities that are responsible for it. Capital
But there's no
projects,
guarantee it would actually happen,
correct,
even though we paid for it.
correct. Capital projects for the township would include building, land, fire trucks, other fire equipment, cemetery work. If you had a park, it would be for a park, those type of activities.
Does this have anything to do with when Holdman and Lehman came and said that our property taxes were gonna go down?
Correct.
Well, that was Senate Bill 1 they were talking about.
That's in Bill 1, this is, now she's talking about House Bill 1461.
Yeah, but they talked some that day on House Bill 1461 too.
Well, it's still all confusing to me.
Yeah.
Your
but it-
rates are, okay, so the tricky thing is you have to think of property taxes like a little seesaw. The state regulates the levy, which is the amount of revenue each governmental unit will get. So it's set, it will not change unless the state says, yeah, you can get a 4% increase, or nope, it's gonna be flat. As your assessed value on your property and land goes up, your tax rate goes down. If your assessed value happens to go down, the tax rate will go up. Because it's all a formula to balance on the set, which is the levy, if that makes any sense. So your tax rate can easily fluctuate. So as your assessed value is gonna go up and up and up, because it rarely goes down, your tax rate will go down and down and down. But also, I don't want to get even more complicated, but there are property tax caps. So typically homeowners will only pay 1% of their assessed value.
But they
regardless.
just keep jacking up the assessed value.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
still more money.
Yes, I can't control that.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yes,
So that's not, I was thinking what you're talking about, property tax going down, well, all my taxes went up hundreds of dollars because my assessed value went up. So my logical thinking is you ain't gonna win. You know, they're gonna get it one way or the
we
other.
haven't figured out who wins in this situation, to be honest. Well, let me
Well,
rephrase.
that's the people.
In my personal opinion, this is personally Abby Parker's opinion, businesses are who's winning in this case. They got a bigger credit than most people did.
What about farmers?
I have no idea about farmers. I'm talking big businesses with like $1 million plots of land and warehouses.
Okay, when I was talking to you, there was a couple options that Abby talked about. One of the things our board needs to decide is if this money is going to go to Jefferson Township or to Wells County.
Awesome.
I'm sorry, to Ossian. And that's a decision that once we know more about this. But from what I understand, she said, if it goes to, one option was the county, right? And
Yes.
but then the money would come back to repair roads in Jefferson Township
Yes.
outside of Ossian.
Yes, so it's only the roads that entity is responsible for.
Yeah,
So they-
but we aren't responsible for any right now as a township.
No, they're essentially making you pay for them without being responsible for them.
See that,
But the county is still, it's not like the county's gonna stop.
No,
taking
the
care of
county
it.
will still get the money they're getting now from motor vehicle distributions, with motor vehicle highway distributions. They're getting the same amount of money they've always got. They're just getting a little extra now from the townships if there's money left over for you to provide and if you choose to go with the county. And same with the town of Ossian.
If we choose to let the money go to Ossian, then the money just goes into repairing streets in Ossian.
Or
Yes.
infrastructure.
Or infrastructure.
And what is included in infrastructure again?
Bridges, culverts, stuff like that.
In town,
Yes,
If we go with Aussie.
if you go with Ossian,
If we go county, it's out in the county.
yeah.
But either way, it would be unfair because you have taxpayers in Ossian who would not get any benefit from that.
Correct.
And
Or
you-
those of us in the rural district would not get anything if it went to Ossian.
Correct.
Agreed.
and the county council's gonna make a yay or nay decision on this, on
On
what
this, no, this is you.
this does. Huh?
County council makes the decision on local income tax. This is all the township. So you have a few decisions to make between now and budget time. One being, who you gonna sign an MOU with? Ossian or the county? How much do you wanna give them? Everything, the full maximum 30%, you wanna play by the rules to a T? You wanna give them a little bit, you wanna give them nothing? If you give them nothing, you need to prepare yourselves to approve a very high budget next year. Well, this year for next year. And for taxpayers, that's not really that's not affecting your taxes. On paper, it's gonna make it look like the township is managing their financials poorly. But just because you budget the money does not mean you have to spend it.
What if,
Well, I'll tell you, I'm having a hard time figuring out how this is working.
I've never heard of a government entity not spending money that was put into
Yeah.
the budget.
yeah,
Oh, there's a lot of them that do it. They budget high just because, one, they don't wanna show a cash balance. Two, in case something comes up, they don't wanna jump through the hoops to get an additional appropriation.
But then couldn't that set you up for a future failure if there was a different person that became in charge of it?
Yep.
Because now your budget's already doubled.
Well, the budget resets every year.
So if there's no money there the next year, then you won't have that big of a budget anymore. 'Cause
And-
the money's been spent.
DLGF, which is the Department of Local Government and Finance that oversees all of this, will not approve a budget unless there is cash or revenue to fund it. So they refuse to let a entity have a negative balance.
So what the state's trying to do is take all townships down to basically a zero balance. They're not, every township's gonna get hit, So it's just not us. So what's gonna happen? Yeah, we could do 30%. Well, that 30% would go away. Then next year, there's already that minus 30% of that. Then it's gonna go away till there's nothing left to carry for the budget. So no matter what, that money's gonna go away one way or the other, whether we put it in our budget or whether we end up signing it over to the county or to the town of Ossian. 30% of that extra cash that we have on hand right now is gonna go away
Year after year.
year after year until it's all gone. So it's gonna take years for it to go, but they're taking it away, because there's some townships, I've heard townships, they're sitting on millions plus. There's townships sitting on $1 million+ right now.
And in my professional opinion, they are doing this in a roundabout way to force smaller, more rural townships to merge into a single unit. There's no legislation in place currently to allow that to happen. I've heard it's gonna get introduced next year, but they want, every year for the last 10 years, they've introduced legislation to kill townships.
Correct.
This is the first step in doing it in a more logical manner.
They've made a lot of headway this year.
Yes.
Did you say we've got, like, right now we got about 140,000 in the general fund?
Yes,
In what, how many, 3 or 4 years it'd be dropped down to 29,000, you said, right?
kind of, yeah. I think I did the math wrong, but it looks like, based on my current calculations, by the end of 2029, with a generic 3% increase in your budget, you're gonna have a cash balance of 42,000. So you're gonna lose roughly $100,000 in the next 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
Just by doing your 30% transfer over and over.
Okay, if we do the gray area, is there any advantage to putting money into a cume fire fund to save money for a fire truck years
So
down the
you
road?
cannot transfer money to a cume fire fund. You can just establish a rate. You can transfer money into a fire fund because fire is protected and township assistance is protected.
Okay, so one way in the gray area would to put more money into the fire fund.
For example, your rainy day fund, if you want to put that into fire fund to save it for a fire purchase, you can do that. But with the thought that once it hits the fire fund, it's restricted to fire purpose only.
And we don't have to spend it.
No,
It'll just keep,
you can grow your fire fund.
So that's one way to get around it. So
Same with your assistance.
what about, we've got a beautiful park here that we put, the town actually owns it. And we've never, to my knowledge, put any money into it.
Yeah,
we do.
At the beginning, I don't know.
No,
Every year.
half of that budget for that park is funded by the outside, people outside of
Jefferson
Boston.
Township pays for it. That's
Yeah.
That's the only
We
reason I
gotta-
could be on the board.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's the only reason.
Was there any advantage to increasing the money that goes into the park?
Is it funded from your general
No,
fund?
it's funded through Ossian. So that's where that money
well,
comes from.
yeah, it's on our taxes, the money goes right to us, we never see
We
it.
don't
It's not
see
part
it.
of our
Then
budget.
no,
No,
that
no,
won't
we
change.
don't.
It's not, but we are taxed on it.
We are taxed on
I'm confused every year, and I've just been at this a short time, but we get down to the nitty gritty of the money we have coming in from the people to make sure we make our budget. Now we're supposed to overdo the budget, but not collect that money just to,
It's basically,
Basically,
we're trying to
overdo-
protect, we're trying to protect our assets right now. That
Yeah.
money's our assets. The state's trying to take those assets away from us because there's towns, like I said, we're not one of the townships that are the troublemakers.
right,
There's other ones are, but they're punishing all townships. So that's what it is. We're just getting punished because there's some bad actors out there. So that's where it's coming from.
Basically, we're trying to play a shell game.
Right.
Yeah, we're over budgeting, but we're not gonna spend it all. That's
supposedly.
basically, that's right, that's,
That doesn't raise. the
And our
taxes,
governments
right?
aren't crooked.
No, that will, I know,
We're
right,
over-
that's the, yes.
over budgeting, but we're not raising taxes.
No, because you cannot, Senate Bill 1 has made it to where you cannot raise taxes.
We can budget.
You can budget
Okay.
high.
Okay.
So like I said,
What a joke.
imagine your personal
Wow.
finances. You've got your set income that you make. and you say, okay, I spend $500 a month on groceries. I'm gonna go ahead for budget purposes. I'm gonna make that 1,000 in case I have a party. You don't have to spend that 1,000, but you set it aside, earmarked for a party or for groceries in case you have one.
Do we really have that $500?
Yes. You actually really have that 1,000 in this instance. It's just, we're gonna say we're gonna spend it so we can protect it. So it's like you don't have that discretionary income in your pocket anymore.
Yeah,
You do a
general
personal
fund,
budget.
That's got money in it, but if we leave it there,
It's
30%,
gone.
they're gonna take 30% of it. We gotta do, they'll
Yeah,
take
it's on.
30% every year.
So do you have the procedure that,
So she's gonna send that information out to us. We don't have it right
that
now.
that's what's coming in?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? We gotta kind of move
Yeah.
on to this one here.
Gary, I appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in.
you guys have any more for me?
You got a card or something?
Yeah.
Someone's gonna call you. Are you like on a retainer with the township or
Oh, you need to
provided by the
explain,
township?
Abby, how we're gonna pay for this.
So yes, I am officially now your CPA firm.
Okay,
Um,
so how much are you costing us then? if it's
so
worth it?
this particular case is because we feel as though townships are getting screwed. We have elected as a firm to not make a profit on the legislation review. Part of the ITA conference, we're giving actually out quite a bit of lit information pro bono to everybody. For review of your budget, your capital improvement plan, my time here and providing all the necessary documents and research is capped at 1% of your 2025 budget, which is roughly $2,690.
That
Does that double,
wasn't
we
too
could
sure.
double the budget?
No, because I've already done all the legwork.
I'm sorry.
But that's a good idea. I hadn't thought that way.
Well, that's like a fair deal.
Right.
And then going forward, I'm here for you.
Did you go by the
This
hour
is-
then, an hour late?
After this particular
Yeah.
thing, yes.
How much? Or what?
281. This is incorrect, but this is what I will email everybody. It's a fiscal plan we've created that will outline your general fund. It'll have all of the numbers, your budget. We have 3 years of actual current budget and then 4 years projected for every fund. We have your estimated net assessed value for the township. We have estimated property tax rates, levies, and your lit comparison. You need to tweak it to make sure it's right because it's wrong right now. It'll scare you. There's a formula error, and so I don't want to share the paper packet. But I will email you an Excel or PDF version of this so you have all of the numbers.
Okay, Abby, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Feel free to email or call if you guys have any questions. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have it.
You're very welcome.
So guys, on the agenda, we need to move up the fire agreement talk just a little bit sooner because we got a guest here that needs to leave.
The fire agreement talk.
Yeah, with Ben, the fire, yeah, language.
The language.
The questions you have for Ben, that's why I want to move that up to now.
Oh, okay.
So Ben's got, we're trying to answer it, but Mike Miller over here will answer probably more of the questions you had that you sent out.
You ready?
Or you guys want a copy of the maps?
I'm good.
There's Dave. Here, you want a copy for the paper? Wait, Ben, you want a copy so we know what we're talking about for last year and this year?
Yep.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So this was discussed in detail also in town council at the April meeting, following the Jefferson Township meeting where Larry Heckler and board members AJ Springer and David Hinkler were present. The only changes that were made, area that was changed for coverage by all seeing was US 224 from Meridian Road to 200 West. Prior to that Chiefs meeting, Ossian Fire Department would cover from on US 224 from Meridian Road over to 200 West. Markle Fire now covers that area on 224 to 200 West. from 200 West to Meridian Road. Austin Fire Department did not gain any area within Wells County. The remaining zones remain the same. Here's the email that I emailed Mike.
Okay,
Asking for those.
show me on
Run
these
numbers.
maps.
678 was taken off. 678 used to be a run number or a zone number, and that was taken off. And Mark will just absorb that, and they run all of 224 over to Meridian Road. So anything Meridian Road to the west is Markle, anything Meridian Road to the east to Adams County is Ossian. Zone 650 should have stayed the same, which is was from Meridian to 200 west, and then Markle covers everything else.
Okay, here's the old map I have and the new map. Now, show me what you give up on 224, because it looks like the same coverage on these maps.
I gave up from 200 West. See this little area right here? That used to be its own zone.
This here's,
224 is totally separate from properties. The road itself has its own ESNs. So you can't really see, it's not really color coded, it's the road,
okay,
okay? So Markle used to end at 200 West, and then Ossian went all the way to 200 West. Now Markle goes to Meridian from the Huntington County line. Ossian goes from the Adams County line to Meridian for
Okay.
rescue runs on 224.
okay. Now this here ESN 650 on the old and 650 on the new, it shows that Ossian took over another section.
Yes,
Should know.
that was the map that I was given.
And that's the map I've been showed.
That's the map we've been showed, yes.
Because I said 650 should have stayed the same, which 650 used to be.
650 increased by a mile.
Should know.
That's what I was told by Markle.
Yeah, but you guys
Well,
are right,
but
because
see-
we didn't go to, they've been taking runs to 300 west.
This is
It's
just,
dividing area.
that's
so.
just for rescue.
Yeah,
We haven't had any rescues in that area, I guess.
but you took that area over from Markle for rescue.
For rescue.
Nothing should have changed. In the meeting that I talked about, absolutely nothing changed. The only thing that changed was
That's not what I was.
The keys don't show
Yeah,
that.
that's what.
The keys show you took that
So
area
then can
over.
we get it changed then? Let's get it, can you change it?
The reason we you talk to John.
Yeah. Because that's
it would
what,
be,
that's
it
what
would
John
just
and I
be
agree.
moving, because what we did is we eliminated that very narrow strip,
The 1 mile stretch.
the 1 mile strip. You have that on the old map
Well,
between 651 and 650.
Here's my old map. See, he's
Well,
only
that
got
Should still be
this.
intact.
We
And
eliminated
then this here, now 650 goes clear over to here for rescue.
that. Yeah, that was eliminated. And that's what I thought you and John talked about.
When I was at the meeting, everything was supposed to say the only thing that we were changing was the 224 ESN. That was the only thing that should have changed. This 855 should have stayed intact.
No, at
Oh,
the,
it should go to
That's-
650.
Or six.
at the fire chief's meeting that I attended, I don't think you were there. That was the discussion, was this one. Let me back up just a little bit. So what happened with this at the end of last year? I went to a fire chief's meeting and just asked, this map, I mean, you see the old map, it's confusing. There's a lot of different areas. So I asked if they could get together, because I don't even know how long ago the original map, the old map that you have, when that was put together. I mean, probably
It was under
before.
Adam, so it wasn't long after everything changed. So it's probably been back for 10 years.
There's just a lot of areas, and in dispatch, what we have been trying to do is cut down on our dispatch times. So we wanted to build response plans, because if somebody calls 911, if they did call 911 before we made this change, our dispatchers had this map, and on the back they had the spreadsheet. They would have to look on the map where this person was calling from, find the ESN, flip the map over, find the ESN here, go under what kind of emergency it was, fire, rescue, police nature, to determine who got dispatched. So now I asked the fire chiefs to clean it up a little bit and to combine some, we had some really small ones that it just didn't make sense to have. So they combined several, and this was an effort by them because, you know, when it comes to operational stuff of their departments, that's their call. We dispatch how they want us to dispatch. We've always followed the ESN map. When I started back in 1991 as a dispatcher, there were 13 ESNs. We were up almost to 40 some. We got it down into the 30s now. It's a training nightmare when we have new dispatchers.
I bet.
So what we have done then, once we got everything changed, then we created our response plans that are in our CAD system. So now when somebody calls 911, as soon as we put in the address and the call nature, it will tell the dispatchers right there on the CAD screen what fire department, what rescue, if it's a boat rescue. We've got all of that into the dispatch screen. We no longer have to waste the time using this. So that's why we tried to rework it. This 1 mile strip up here, this is the first that I have known that the Ossian Fire Department did not want that. Because
It wasn't
Well,
mine. It wasn't mine.
here's the deal. I was brought these by a citizen, and they want to know what is going on here. So I went over and talked to the Markle chief because I thought, well, Markle was removed from any mutual aid that Ossian has. And Preble was put on. And I thought, well, maybe Markle wanted to give it up. I thought, I'll go hear their side of the story. And he said, no, we didn't want to give it up. And they actually took some of our rescue. They were upset that they lost some of their rescue. It's not that they wanted to
We've got
give it
people
up.
now right over on Meridian Road that can see a fire station that they ain't coming.
Well, they weren't coming before because they weren't staffed enough. So
I have no
That's,
control.
that's, yeah, there's
That's
no,
outside of
that's,
it.
Yeah,
but
I was
it doesn't matter.
fully
They're,
understanding. I was just asked to come here
they're
to
not coming.
Yeah,
explain a little bit about how this
and,
happened.
you know, I know AJ's called the Markle chief, and I know you have. And you guys hammer on the Markle chief. I went to him for the answers. I don't know why, if he told me what he felt happened and what his opinion was, why you guys were so upset with him for telling.
Well, who else did you talk to besides him? Did you talk to Mike? Did you talk to South Wicker? Have you talked to anybody else?
The chiefs is what came up with this, so I went to the chiefs.
That's
And
fine.
I went to him because they were removed. I thought, well, maybe they voluntarily removed themselves, but they
But
didn't.
that wasn't a discussion between the fire chiefs, so that's, did you talk to the other chiefs? Any other chiefs? besides
Yeah,
me?
I did.
Resolving it.
I did. And you know,
They're gonna look
it
at
wasn't
it, so we're
chiefs,
not
it
gonna
was,
argue about it
it
at
was
the meeting.
firemen, in other, Nottingham, Chester, and they said Markle was upset the way it went down, and they were not
Okay.
happy.
We're not
Tim,
arguing.
I got one
So-
question. I got one question to ask you. Do you have any family members on any active fire departments? Do you have any family members on any active
I
fire
have a
departments?
son-in-law that is on Markle,
Okay.
but you know what? Him and I do not discuss anything fire. He says, you leave me out of this.
I just wanted to make sure, that's why, make it clear that that's,
So
all right,
I think,
he's gonna look
I
into
think
it.
John and Ben just need
sit down, and talk.
Yeah.
to talk and get with me. And it doesn't matter to me.
All right,
Yeah,
you're
We're
just a
gonna
guy.
dispatch
I got one other
the way
question.
the map
Since Markle was removed and Preble was put on it for mutual aid, when a call comes in, it comes into your dispatch center, and then your dispatch center has to call the Decatur dispatch center, and the Decatur dispatch center calls Preble.
True, but we notified Preble before we contact Adams County through I'm Responding, which is a phone app. All the volunteer fire departments have them. So when we drop the tones, the Preble Fire Department's I'm Responding is programmed into our system. So all of the volunteers at Preble, their phone goes off. So they know that they're getting a call in Adams County. Then we contact Adams County and then they tone it out because that's how Preble Fire Chief wanted it done. He wanted Adams County to drop the tones for their fire department. So then their I am responding goes off again. So they get 2 notifications on their phone and they get a page.
Okay. And if Markle is called, it's directly from our dispatch center to Markle.
Yes, we have capability of dispatching them from our
Yeah.
dispatch center. Just like we used to have that same capability for Southwest, because Southwest is contracted by Zanesville for fire coverage. And Allen County changed their radio system, so we no longer can get on that. So if there's anything in Zanesville, then we have to contact Allen County. So, but with Preble, they're going to get that dispatch the same time the Wells County Fire Departments get it through the
Okay.
time responding.
It's good.
So, yeah, but for this strip, it doesn't matter to us in dispatch. We're going to dispatch it the way the fire chiefs want it because operationally, that's their jobs. That's not our job in determining that. So if John and Ben get together and Ben's like, I don't want that, and John wants it, then we can easily make that 1 mile stretch 651.
I was cool with it was not taken because I just said I'd keep 650, which 650 was to 200 west. That's what they were supposed to have, 200 west to the west. I was have 200 west to the east.
Yeah.
So
Somehow that message didn't get through, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's a simple fix. I mean, it is not that big of a deal when it comes to dispatch.
And that's basically what this map is dispatch maps.
Mhm.
Okay. It's,
Yeah, but one thing I will say, I was very appreciative to all of the fire chiefs. And I mean, you have the old one and the new one, you can compare and see the difference.
I understand what you're saying totally.
The ease of
Yeah.
what they did for us was
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Agreed.
Tim, do you have some other?
Yeah, I do have some
Well,
other.
can I talk about this since I was the only one at the meeting that knows what
yeah,
happens?
yeah.
That'd be great. So this started because, actually this about 300 of us. You and Andrea sent an email to John and I asking about reviewing this rescue area because we'd had 2 rescues responding over and covering that. So Andrea was like, hey, should we clean that up? So John initially said they wanted to cover to Meridian Road. And I said I was not okay with that. I wanted to keep that to 200 West area because we've done the math and we've done the mileage between, even though they're closer to 224 and 200 West, I'm closer at 1200 North and 200 West. So that was the dividing line that we chose. So I was steadfast that we were going to stay there. They wanted to come over farther. During that meeting, we went back and forth. And then John brought up, he's like, hey, it's a straight shot for us to Meridian Road and 224. And I agreed with him. I said it is. So why don't you guys take 224? We'll keep the 650 in place. And he said, yeah, that's fine. We'll do that.
So why, Ben, why is it okay for you to take that that's closer for you, but you did away with Markle coming over here and you're getting Preble.
Well, these are 2 different type of fire things. So if you want to
I
go
mean,
over
it's
miles,
the
we can.
same.
I'll go over miles with you.
I'm just
But we're going
asking.
to discuss, we're going to finish this first. So the rescue stuff, just so you know, this is an operational decision, which I have total discretion over. Neither Town of Austin nor Jefferson Township make any operational decisions of Austin Fire Department. Rescue coverage by Indiana statute, which is Indiana law, the county must provide rescue protection. Wells County Council and Wells County Fire and Wells County Commissioners are aware of all these changes and left the changes up to the fire chiefs of their respective departments. So that is what we all got together for, and that's what we
So Markle
did.
agreed with it, though. Markle agreed to give you that section from Meridian Road to 200.
That's rescue, David. I'm
Yeah,
talking about
I
different
know,
things.
that's what I'm asking. Markle agreed to give you the rescue for it, right?
I didn't take anything.
But they didn't want it back, they didn't ask for it back?
They wanted it.
Okay, so you didn't give it back to them then. They asked for
It's
it
not
back.
their
and you
area.
didn't.
It's been my area. It's always been my area. Just like at the
Where
meeting
does
you were
Jefferson
talking about.
Township go to? We go over to 200 West? I thought we go to Meridian
David, you
Road.
need to listen.
You really need to listen, okay?
Okay, no,
I
I'm just
explained
asking
this.
if it's
I
in there,
explained this.
it's in a different taxing entity. I'm just asking if they, then I'm just simply asking
Rescue-
if they ask for it
I'm
back.
explaining to you, what you're saying is false, okay?
Okay, I'm
I
listening.
just said this, okay?
Fire protection is done at the township level. Do you understand that?
Yep.
Okay. I just said rescue protection by statute is at the county level,
Okay.
not township.
Okay.
You have nothing to say. It's so Marco said the same thing. Well, that's our tax money. It's not. It's coming from the county. It's not coming from the township.
I got you.
This is a township contract,
I got you.
not a,
just-
this is a county contract, not a township. Clear?
Clear.
Yeah, but then how come they aren't paying for the guys that go out on the truck and that?
Do what?
We're paying for the guys that go out on the rescue truck. They aren't paying for them. We're buying the fuel for that truck that goes out.
Just you or the town of Washington?
It's joint. It's joint
Right now.
this year. It has been us in the past.
Yeah.
But we're.
So let's talk about that. So one other thing you asked for in your letter, because you asked me to talk about a couple things, okay? One of them was the agreement that Wells County has with us. So that's an agreement, okay?
Okay.
They pay Aussie firemen $5,000 a year. They pay that for manpower. They pay Liberty, or they pay Bluffton $13,000. They pay Aussie $5,000. They pay Liberty and Markle $2,000 a year. So what we do is we take those funds and we buy equipment with it. So all the extrication equipment, the $35,000 stuff that we put on the brand new rescue that the county paid for, that was bought with that money. So yes, you're paying for fuel and you're paying our manpower, but the county has supplied the truck and their money has bought all the equipment that's on that truck. So it's a pretty good deal that you've gotten there.
But that's why we wanted some answers on this. I had checked with the county on getting this contract last year when it looked like we were gonna be leaving Ossian. And the auditor, and I don't blame the auditor on this, but she says, I cannot recall ever having that, but it could be, if you want to go back and look in the commissioner's minutes. When you said you had it, I asked for a copy, you provided it.
I emailed Lisa and the next morning it was in my email box. Didn't take me long at all to find. So it's right there.
Real quick, does anybody have any other questions about 911 or for Mike? Or is this all, rest of it gonna be about fire?
It's all gonna be about fire. And I really
Yeah,
appreciate your explanation coming, Mike. I really do.
No problem. Like I said, if they get it sorted out, you can make a quick change. And it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
See you, Mike.
Oh, can you get in?
No, you're good. Thank you.
Slightly. There we go. All right.
So the third thing that you wanted was to know, you wanted to question me on the fourth quarter pay for 2024. So the fourth quarter pay was discussed at the August 2024 meeting during the budget explanation that I presented for both the Austin Town Council and again for Jefferson Township. I've also explained this at the April 2025 Town Council meeting following Jefferson Township's last meeting where trustee Larry Heckford, board members AJ Springer and David Haefler were all present. Again, I followed the protocol that was in place prior to me becoming chief. It's common practice to follow. We have 4 quarters in a year that we pay for the firefighters. Firefighters are compensated at the end of each quarter. This means the first quarter of the new year, they are paid for the previous quarter's runs they responded to. So January 2025 comp is the fourth quarter responses of 2024. These budget numbers were
explained at both the Austin Town Council meeting in August 2024, as well as the special meeting I had with the township. We held out the fire station. These figures were approved by the town. I raised the 2025 budget knowing that I would increase the volunteer compensation in January 2025 for runs they responded to in the last quarter of 2024.
And that works out with taxes. When I pay taxes, I'm paying the fourth quarter taxes in the first quarter. It's just-
But you're not
it's
paying
the way-
more than it's due.
No, I'm not paying more than it's due, but I'm not paying 2024 fourth quarter in 2024.
But-
They're paying in January.
The fourth quarter would be October, November, December.
Right, but
With-
they don't file that until January.
I
1st or
understand
whatever
that.
after
November 1st, we submit our budget to the state, and we don't have an answer back even if they're gonna approve that budget. So you're upping your rate before we get to 2025. That money was for the 2025 expenses. 2024 expenses, that's the fourth quarter of 2024 is in 2020, the
By
2024.
November 1st, you had already paid 4 quarters. You had already paid 4 quarters. You were done paying your compensation.
No,
Yes, you paid the fourth quarter of 2023 in January of 2024.
yeah.
Okay, that's one. You paid in the second quarter, so January, February, March. So in April, you paid the first quarter of 2024. In July, you paid the second quarter of 2024. In October, you paid the third quarter of 2024. That's 4 quarters. You paid all 4 quarters already. So in January, and that's what I explained at the council meeting, that's when I explained why I was raising the budget, and that was what was approved to pay. So I raised that. I raised the 2025 budget knowing I'd be increasing the volunteers compensation in January 2025 for the last quarter of 2024. You'd already paid your 4 quarters.
Yeah. I
The
know.
numbers are there. The math is there.
Well, you got $900 more for that one quarter, that just in yours, and your captains went from 600 to 1,040 or 50
Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah.
And a lot of the increase in wages was to officers and management.
Dan, come on in here. Dan, come in. So, or Jay. Jay, you can come in here too. Is he doing it?
He's good.
Okay. Oh, he's just getting out of here. Okay. So, on our fire department, who are the most active people?
It'd be the officers.
The officer crew.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as the officers, as far as captain stuff, their pay stayed the same. They just get run money now. So you see how many runs they make. We said it went from 600 to 1,000. It stayed at 600.
The officer
They-
gets $600 a day. You just get their run money on top of it now.
Right.
So,
So-
before they didn't get paid for runs.
So let's look at this then, here. I can find the right paper here. If you go back and look here, Lewis had 10 runs, he got $600. Miller had 11 runs, he got $600. Shear had 12 runs, he got $600. Weichel had 22 runs, he got $600.
Yeah, is that fair?
But you say
That's the
they're
question,
just
is that
paid
fair?
run money,
No,
Yeah.
that was paid officer money. The officer used to be salary.
and if you look at what you paid in this year, I gotta find it. It's in this folder, but
It'll be the 600 plus the run.
but it doesn't come out that way. I don't think, Dan,
It
because
does.
It does come out that way.
Because it used to be they just got a flat fee for being.
They got a flat fee. They got
And then
$600.
the rest of us got run money, and they didn't get run money, all they got was a flat fee. All they all got a flat fee.
I thought,
I'd like
I've
to
got
look
it.
at this
I've
from
got
an
it.
accounting, if I can. Okay, can you tell me from 2024, okay, what you're asking for in the first quarter? I get that. I do account. All right, so I get that. So what is the difference? Say we did our budget for 2025. What is the difference of the quarter, if I'm saying that right, that we're talking about? How much, is it just the run money that's different? They didn't get run money in 2024,
So
or they're
if
getting,
I'm following, I want to,
yeah, I'm not sure if I'm
okay,
saying it.
so previously. So I have myself, my assistant chief, and I have 4 captains. That's some other guys too, but the officers. So the officers before would get just a flat fee quarterly. So I would
Which
get
was the
$84.
$600 that you.
Correct. They would get $600 a quarter.
Okay,
I would get $8,400 total, so I get $2,100 a quarter.
okay,
Okay. Well, they were they're the most active people I have on the department, but they were getting $600. But then you have Chris Coons. I'm going to use it for example. He's very active. I don't know what Chris would make, but or Abe Pratt. Abe Pratt's my second most active person on the department besides me. He would probably make in the range of $250, $300 a quarter. So I didn't think it was fair where they were doing extra work.
well, I'm
And
not
making
asking
runs.
you,
No.
I'm not
just trying
asking you to
finish.
justify, I'm
No, I'm
saying,
just, no,
well,
I'm just
what
saying.
was 2024, and now what is 2025?
So
What's
they
the
went
difference?
from $2,400 a year in 2024, and now it's minimum $2,400 and any runs they go on. So
Which is
if
at how
he
much a
goes
run?
$20 a run.
Okay, so we're technically calling the third quarter, and I'm just gonna use the number, say it was 2,000 for the fourth quarter, payable in 2025. The only difference, well, there really wasn't any difference, it's gonna be, I guess what I'm trying to say is, trying to be fair to everybody, 4 quarters is 4 quarters, whether you pay the last quarter in the new year or not. I honestly, I've been trying to go, and I'm not saying that you didn't say, oh, by the way, the fourth quarter is gonna be paid in 25. I do not remember that. You very well could have said it. I'm not here to argue that. So I think the thing to be, if it's not a tremendous amount of money in that quarter, everybody here has learned a lesson. I
And
think if in the next budget that's talked about, and whether you did or you didn't, as we're all trying to get this adjusted, I think you need to be very explicit on something like that and say, by the way, this quarter is for this, but now remember, this has to be paid in the next month.
Yeah, we're
I
not,
get
we're not
that.
disputing over,
Yeah, we're
over you
not-
guys
I'm
getting
not.
raised. The
No,
dispute
no.
is, the
It's
dispute,
just
we don't care
something
about
that
that.
got,
We're just trying to keep our
something that got
budget.
screwed up.
Yeah, we're just
One
trying to
way
keep
or
our
the other.
budget from year to year so we
So
know.
I
Right,
think
but I
you
think it's
just-
been this way for a long time. It's not like he just did it this year or last year.
and the only time
The
it
way it's
would
always been
change
paid out.
again.
That's, I mean, that's all we're trying to
And the
get.
difference
done.
would be,
$25 now.
like she's
Yeah.
asking,
That's the only time.
Would be
But
the
that should
$20
just
for
be
the
paid
officers.
out. So again,
Yeah.
I'm
And then
thinking
it's
4
raised. It'd be
quarters
a
is 4
difference.
quarters. If
That's
we're
it.
not talking about $1,000, for the basis of the time that I've been coming for these meetings, it's more important to me that the firefighters and the board get equal time. Everybody gets to ask their questions, the questions are answered. And so far tonight, I've been impressed. Everybody's been treating each other like human beings. So that's what I want to see come out of this, as well as treating everybody fair. You guys do a tremendous job.
You do.
I have nothing.
You do.
We just got to get to the fact that everybody understands pushing the pencil and understand where it is.
Well, you've got to understand, our budget went from 45,000 to 79,000 to 122,000 in 3 years.
And
So
I'm not-
we are watching how this money is being spent, and that's why we had wrote into the 2025 fire contract that they had to supply us with how they were spending the money so we could look this stuff over. And when we have questions on this, we can ask.
And that's something that everybody can hopefully agree on, and we do a better job at it.
Yeah.
Because you can't cry over the milk that's already spilled.
We've been sending a monthly, invoice. We got
So-
all the invoices.
Well, that's where I got this, Larry.
Okay, I'm just saying that we've been providing.
But,
with all that information.
I went back and looked, I filed with the town, got the first, the past on what it's cost the other quarters, because it didn't start till this year that we got them. So the 2024 reports on what they paid in that. I didn't have access to. So I had to file with the town and get them. And I went over the first 3 quarters. If you add them all together, there were 8,900, 9,600, 8,600. Add them all together and average them. They were $9,074.66 for them first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter was $14,020. And that's because it had that increase. And I really didn't feel like that increase should have started until the first quarter of this year. That's what I had a problem with.
Okay, so you're saying that you upped everything for the fourth quarter, not just starting out in January. So the payment that was made in 24 payable in 25 was more money than the
Yeah,
other 3 quarters.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so I'm thinking then that you're gonna use that fourth quarter in the first of 2025, then speaking of what that budget is for that is say, and I'm just using a number, 20,000, and say they spent 10,000 on that fourth quarter. Does that mean we got 10,000 for the rest of these 3 quarters?
Well, here's what we got for the rest of it. And I need a little explanation on how this is built out, but they have 2 numbers on their budget: salaries and wages, $84,240, and compensation for volunteer firemen, $44,698. If you add them 2 together, they're getting.
You can't add those together because the compensation is the money for the volunteers, what we're talking about right now. And that other pay, the other one that's 84,000 is for the part-time firefighters that work the shift. So we have, those are two separate accounts and 2 separate payables. So the 84,000 is to the $600 is in that first one for the volunteer compensation.
So the 14,000, which one would that have come out of, Ben?
That would have came out of the compensation for volunteer firemen.
So 14,000 come out of there. So you got 30,000 left to cover 2 quarters then, or
3 quarters.
3 quarters. You got quarter 1, 2, and
3 quarters. So you got 30,000. You've already spent 14. You got to cover 3 quarters yet of that.
You remember at that last meeting when we talked about where the fuel was budgeted at $10,000 and we went over and over and over about that. That is the funds when we're over on one budget, but we're under on another budget, then we can transfer that over and that can move throughout the budget. If we don't go over on new equipment, which I don't know the numbers I have on new equipment, but if we don't buy new equipment, then that can go and cover that compensation.
Because you just don't know.
If I have less firefighters responding, was that quarter? I don't know. I'd have to look at it. If that was a lot of runs, if there was a lot of runs, we had a lot of people, that's going to be a higher quarter. Sometimes it's going to be a lower quarter.
Okay.
I might have a lower number of people responding.
You don't know how many runs you're doing each quarter either, because you could have, one quarter you could have hypothetically 20 runs, and the next quarter only have 2 runs. And that changes how much is paid out every quarter. It's dependent on how many runs you do.
And number of firefighters that respond to those runs.
That's why it's tough to budget for anything like that. You just don't know the unknowns.
Well, I just felt you got what you earned in the fourth quarter of 2024 was the fourth quarter rate of what you made throughout 2024. Why you would increase it in that last quarter when we really don't get an answer whether we're going to get our budget money till when. We turn it in November 1st, but they got to okay it and everything. We don't have that for a ways down the road.
I'm going to give you a good example. Have you been reading about the Wilkes County Sheriff's Department? So
As far as
they budgeted so much money for this year. Well, they're having staffing issues, so they decided to shift increases. They did increases for their trainers and stuff like that. Well, that was the budget last year, so they had to appropriate all that extra money. But going into, now they're trying to hire people, but the council would not give them any more money to increase wages this year. So they're trying to tell them for next year's budget, we're going to promise these new hires that they'll get a wage increase starting then. But that's just one of those unknowns. It's like you're trying to factor out. You just don't know that stuff.
It's not that I deny these guys the money. I gotta be accountable. When my budget goes from 45 to 79 to 122, I gotta be accountable for this money, and it doesn't seem the right accounting in my book.
That what, Ben, wasn't the increase because of the basic full-time firemen that you
Not the
got?
full-time, part-time.
I mean, they're part-time guys, but that's, our labor has gone up because you got.
Those are completely separate.
We're
Now,
not complaining about it. We're not complaining about the labor going up. We're just trying to establish, Larry, we didn't start in this till 2025. Our money was supposed to go for 2025. And this
Yeah.
was paid in 2024.
Yeah.
That's all we're,
It was.
that's all we're saying. It was our understanding our money was going for 2025, okay? It wasn't the understanding we were gonna pay the raises of the last quarter of 2024. She said, it could have been, he might have said it. We might have misunderstood it. I mean, but that's what we're not arguing over their money or they're getting raises. That's not what we're after. We're just trying to figure out what we were told or what all of us understood, at least me and Tim, I'm assuming, is that our money was going for 2025, not for 2024. Well, it did. Some of it did go for 2024 for their raises. We didn't know. We're just trying to get it straightened out. We're not.
The only way it will change is if we would increase the pay again. Other
Yeah,
than that, it's gonna be
yeah,
exactly the same.
I see.
It's gonna
If-
be,
So when
I'll
you
take
do
3
your
more
budget
quarters
this
this
year, the last quarter that's paid in 2026 is gonna have their raises for the last quarter, correct?
If they don't have a raise this year. So,
no, I'm not increasing their pay.
so
Okay.
for
So
quarter
no,
four, they won't get an increase. It just be dependent on the
25.
runs.
25.
Oh, 25, sorry, quarter 25.
So in 2026, they'll still be $20 in a
It'll
run.
still be the same as
No,
far
the
as.
only reason this changed is because we increased their pay.
Yeah.
And the last time we saw this happen was, I don't know, when we went from $6 to $20. I have no idea when it was.
Yeah.
6-7 years ago.
So was there money set aside then to pay the 2024 fourth quarter comp money?
No,
I mean, if you wanted to pay the
It's coming
2024,
It's
out of the
coming out of our 2025
exactly,
budget.
you're right.
You know, it's
Okay.
coming out of our 2025 budget. Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's just, yeah.
We've got $122,000 budget, and it's gonna be coming, we can't spend more than 122,000.
Okay.
Okay,
So anybody got any other questions? Anybody, you got any more questions, Tim?
No,
Okay.
that's the three I had was
Okay.
the contract, the wages, and the
Ben,
areas.
I'd like to juggle our agenda around a little bit while Ben's still here and talk about the proposed buying of the tank.
That's,
Is that all right?
yeah, I agree. While he's here, I'm all right with that.
So just a little history, just reminder for everyone, both tankers, 605, 606, are getting old. 605 is 29 years old and 606 is 28 years old. However, the 29-year-old one is really in better shape. It's in better condition. What I would like to see, and I think we should do, is whenever we want to, is replace both of those trucks with one larger truck that's going to hold more water. That's going to help limit the manpower issue that we have. So it's right now, I can haul 3,500 gallons of water with 2 trucks, but it takes two people. So what I would like to do is get a larger truck that one person can take. It helps on manpower. It also is going to help on repair, maintenance, and fuel, because I would like to start shrinking the number of vehicles in the fleet. To me, that's smarter. It saves more money. Typically, I wouldn't look at used vehicles for fire trucks, but for a tanker, I'm completely fine with that. A tanker typically only is used to transport water to a scene. There's not firefighters operating on the end of those hose lines going into a building, extinguishing fires with a tanker. It's just going to supply the engine. In addition, in 2024, 605, which I would describe as the better tanker, responded on 22 calls. 606, the not as good one, only responded on 2 calls. And this year, it's gone on more calls. That's because 605 is out of service for so long. So I personally find it hard to spend over $400,000 on an apparatus that responds to so few calls. However, having a reliable apparatus is still going to be a priority. So I've found several trucks. The one that I wanted the most, that I liked the most, unfortunately sold. However, the company's building another one. It's around 30 days out from now. It is it's on a 2010 International 7600 chassis with 61,000 miles on it. So the chassis is used, but the truck itself is a new build. It has a 3,000 gallon tank, a 1,000 gallon per minute pump, has pump and roll capabilities, and it would fit into our station, which is a priority and hard to come by. The original sale price of the truck that sold was $180,000. It was like $179,000, so right around $180,000. New builds that have 300,000 gallons of water, 1,000 or even down to 500 gallon per minute pumps are around $365,000 to $539,000. Bluffton's currently building a tanker. I don't know the amount. It has at least 2,500 gallons of water. I don't know if it went up to 3,000 or not. I haven't heard many details, but they were priced, or they're paying $410,000 or $420,000. So no need to do that. But I think these are pretty significant savings. If something you guys want to discuss more seriously, I can get more information. I can get all that stuff. Great. If you don't want to, then I won't. But I think if we could find something for $180,000, that would be hugely beneficial. I would be happy with that.
Well, my only concern is,
No,
I
is
don't
they gotta stay together.
I
Oh, they
don't,
gotta stay together.
I don't
They're
wanna-
different trucks.
with the ISO, with people complaining
No,
about their
great
insurance,
question.
I don't want the tanker gallons to go down.
So, no,
We
per-
either gotta
perfect
go
question.
above 3,500 gallons on it, or
no, that's an excellent question, an excellent point. However, so Rescue 6, the county's rescue that they bought us, has 750 gallons of water on it. So our ISO rating was based on the old rescue that had no water. So now we're 250 gallons over the water usage that we had at our ISO rating. So we went up 250 gallons. So it's a good point, but it's coming.
What size are the trucks now?
One is 2,000 and one is 1,500. The good one, 605, is 2,000 gallons and 606 is 1,500 gallons.
And the one you're looking at is 3,500.
It's 3,000
Yeah,
gallons.
3,000.
3,000 gallons.
But the
But
Plus the
the-
750.
Plus the 750, so.
So to still fit in the station, does it get longer instead of taller, or how? Because
So-
are they kind of a tight squeeze?
It's a tight squeeze.
This other truck is longer.
Longer. It's longer, yeah.
This one is a little longer, just.
And this is tandem axle.
It is a tandem screw.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the truck.
What engine's in that by chance?
But
I-
he checked me, I haven't got a reply back from him.
Okay, because I asked him that
Stay away
question.
from the pack car engines.
Not the pack car. It's the, okay, it's the Navistar you want to
I
stay away
haven't got
from.
that back.
Pack car still, I think it's a hidden Cummins, isn't it, John? That's why I was thinking pack car still a hidden Cummins. The Navistar you want to stay away from. That's a Max Force and,
Pack car is a couple engine companies that went together.
right, but it's still
This
Cummins
is
based.
actually the one that sold.
It's Navistar.
They're building.
My shop guy
It's
has a
not
lot
gonna
of
be
problems with it. He said
189
stay away from
Most likely.
Yeah, see, I worked at a trucking company.
Oh,
so-
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so technically a little bit more.
Ben,
Did you,
Go ahead.
well, did you do any research on what the township would have to do to buy a used truck?
What do you mean, what the heck?
Well, there's a lot of hoops you gotta
Oh, yeah.
jump through.
I would,
And it takes a lot of time. That's why I'm not against a used truck,
There is-
but
So there's a form, if you will, probably not the correct term, but there's paperwork that you can fill out to explain the savings that you're going to get by that. It's the same thing as a demo. So the Rescue 602 were both considered demos, which are both considered used trucks. So there's just literally a form that you can fill out. You're saving hey, we're saving $200,000 by getting this truck. There's gonna be warranty on it because it's a new build truck. I know there's warranty on the truck itself as well. So that isn't gonna be a huge issue.
Where,
There's paperwork. to
where
do
would
that.
this money come from? And I'm asking
Fire
because I've done
team.
it.
We got fire team or.
Well,
The-
I'm not trying to be smart, I'm just,
Right. We got some money in fire team that's earning right now, and if we had to, the rest of it, because we got up to 120 in it right now, so we're just gonna be short, what is that, 60?
Plus there's
so if
20,000
it's
in.
190,000, is that gonna be split half with Jefferson Township and half with the Ossian town?
No, Ossian, if we buy this, it'd be Jefferson Township's equipped truck.
Yeah.
Ossian's not gonna do
You're also gonna
anything.
be able to sell your other trucks.
Correct.
I was gonna
So we
say,
can
what
sell
are
the
they-
truck.
You might as well figure you ain't going.
So what we'll try to do, if we did this, we'd have to
Just
borrow
like
some
when
money
we
from the
sold
general
the
fund,
rescue.
but we can repay that money back in future years. So we can borrow money from the general fund right now to offset that difference. And then, like I said, we got those two other trucks that we can sell, so hopefully maybe selling those two trucks will help cut that offset. But we're probably not
Is this a
gonna,
cash deal or is it payment plan?
No, I think we can pay.
we could probably do a cash deal on that.
See, the other thing, Darlene, that's gonna happen, we're currently paying $52,000 a year for the engine that we've got right now, which will be paid off in December of this year. So that drops off the books. And then in January, if things go out the way, I think we won't have any payments all for any fire equipment. So our taxes, I got a note here, we're gonna go down, they're 0.0754 now. Once what I said happens, it goes down to 0.0579.
If you have to jump through hoops to get a used truck,
That's why we want to
what value do our trucks have now and who would be interested in purchasing?
So that's why it's gonna be harder to sell those trucks, because you gotta find the right person. who wants to buy it.
Well, Preble's a private fire department. They can go out and buy whatever they want. We've got to answer to the state, so there's a lot of hoops we got to jump through to
So
purchase.
there is a market.
There is market, yes.
There is, but it's a lot smaller.
Market.
Huh?
A $60,000 market
Yeah.
to make up the difference.
Yeah, but
or how
they're
much
truck
they
chassis,
work.
so, I mean, go
20, 30
look at,
grand, I would think.
go
Right.
look at up what they want for a stainless steel tank, Tim. Go look at how, Christ, they
Well,
want
that's what-
$5,000 or better for a 2,500 gallon stainless tank.
To a DEF truck.
Yeah.
So there's companies out there that would buy an old tanker truck. Hey, we just want a tanker truck. We could throw it like National Oil did that with the DEF, which you need a stainless steel tank to carry DEF. So that's why they bought that old fire truck.
Yeah, look up stainless steel tanks on Marketplace, what they want for 2,500 gallon or 1,500 gallon stainless steel tank.
We can probably get good value out of them, but
It's just,
we don't know what we would get out of it until we have something to replace
Well,
it.
yeah.
And then, 'cause we can't sell them without having something here.
Okay,
Um,
so what's the range on the quotes there?
Okay, the ranges from 100, one quote he's got is 169,995.
170,000.
He's got one that's basically $200,000, 199.
What's the other?
And then the one that Ben feels he can handle is
That one that sold.
179,500.
Sorry. That was actually, I've been watching that for about 4 months. I was like, good, and then there's like, it sold.
I need to, if we
So it's
have
not
to have
changing.
another meeting to make
hasn't
this
been.
decision,
And like I said,
then
this
I
was
need to
something
know
that's
these
gonna be
numbers
done in
before I
30
start
days,
working
they
on the
said,
budget.
Roughly 30 days.
So it's up to you guys if we want to have
We're pretty serious.
another meeting
Well,
to let me know which one you want to go.
Until we get-
Or if there's another
I mean,
meeting
it's
that
a rush
out
to
there you
decision,
want
but I
to
mean,
go.
hey, we're interested. And it's not
But
that we're
I'm-
always making.
What I'm thinking is if Ben would find this sister truck for the 179,500, we're probably gonna need to put some money down on that to hold it, right, Ben?
I would assume I haven't talked to them.
I was thinking that we could take our rainy day fund money, $20,690, I think. And that's just a guess. Maybe they say we only need to put $10,000 down on it. But I'd like to put some money down on it so we don't have to worry about
Mike's? That's
the
her.
price of it going back in.
But
Thanks, guys.
No, that's not, that's hers. That's not Mike's.
The only thing is,
I thought.
I think you better talk to the state and put some money down on it. want this.
No, I'm gonna get on
Because
that.
I don't think you can just throw money out there and think you're gonna go ahead and fill the paperwork
Well, when I
out there.
talked to George Helton before George left, George says that was an option to put the money down to hold it. You're not supposed to pay for anything until you have it, but he said in a case like this, to hold a vehicle, you're allowed to do that. But I'm gonna get Tony Crowell involved in this.
I have no idea if that's what they're gonna require. I haven't talked to them about that. I was getting measurements,
Right.
prices.
Make sure it's gonna fit in the fire
Well, just
station.
because we have 20 or whatever you said, we don't have to give them 20.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
We just need,
10 down.
we just need to, Ben needs to know, hey, we are interested, and then he can go to them, hey, we need a final price on that. How much do you need down to hold it for us until we can actually physically buy it? So it could be they want $1,000 down, and we just put $1,000
And if
down.
it's not refundable, I guess I'd make sure that you can get all the approval that you say you need before you give somebody money, and then they say, oops, no, you can't do this, and then we lose that money.
No, I'm gonna run it through Tony Crowell. I'll let Tony Crowell handle the paperwork, make sure it's done properly.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a good situation here. 2 years ago, we talked about this. We were talking about maybe having to have a $300,000 to $400,000 truck. And Ben's went out and found about $180,000 truck. And I think that's wonderful. We can, and I think we can pay for it, possibly borrow some money from the general fund, but we may not even have to do that. We're sitting in a good place here.
We can loan money from one fund to another. We just have to repay it back. So we can borrow money.
Where does this fit into the fact that she was saying that we gotta move our money?
Well, that, we can factor that into the budget
I
too.
mean,
Because the general,
No, we
that
can't.
money's in the general,
We
so
just can't take it out of the general and put it in there because.
we
it's
can't put it, we
Two
can't,
different groups of taxpayers. You got people in Alston and Jefferson Township paying into the general,
right.
and then us
But we can
that are
budget,
responsible.
but we can kind of budget for a loan out of the general for that to
I
repay
guess
that
what
loan
I'm
back.
saying is to take away from that 30%.
Yeah,
We just gotta figure that one out later on, but that's outside of the scope of buying a new truck.
But that could work in our, I mean, that.
Right,
this
right.
Truck could work in that favor.
Correct, it could help us with that. Because either way, we may lose it,
are we
whether,
done with this so
So-
Ben can get going?
Yeah.
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 I would say, I make a motion that Ben keeps working on this to get
Yeah.
final numbers, if, what we can do to hold it. So I make that motion for Ben to keep doing his work on this to see what it's gonna take for us to hold it, and then, and Larry to get with
Well,
Tony and do
I
it.
don't think you need a motion. for that.
Well,
No.
if we're gonna,
I think it's all right. He can
Okay.
keep working on
as
it.
long as you guys are saying he's all right to keep doing it, we're good.
Did it say how
Okay.
many miles?
My question is,
What is the life
Alright.
expectancy of it?
if Ben
Since
can
it's a
get it
new
for
build, take
179,500,
right, they want you
What's
to
that?
replace it
if
25
Ben can get it
years.
for 100, the sister truck.
So the chassis,
179,500.
they don't require the chassis,
Do
it
you
goes
want-
by 25.
Do you
years
want me to
of build.
start budgeting that money?
So
I ain't
NFPA
ready to
goes
spend
by
the money yet.
So this truck.
Let him work on it.
will be
Let's look
considered
at our funding,
Really?
see what we got.
We gotta get a fire agreement first. We don't know
Well,
what
that's
this
true.
fire agreement's
Okay.
gonna cost.
That's
us.
I just have to have this done by
That's
budget
true.
time. So we may have to have another meeting
Go
to discuss the,
400,
okay, you guys are gonna give me the
500,
changes you want in the fire agreement.
Now, other than the.
I'm gonna give that to the town
Is there
council.
any?
And then the town
way to
council is a good chance they may want a joint meeting with all of us.
the amount.
I just need to have the,
Yes.
this money that we're gonna spend on the fire truck, I just need to know what it is before budget time.
Could you have a certified?
And we may have to have
bill
another
tanker
meeting
for X
to
amount
make
of dollars,
that
or is
decision
that
once
not
Ben
worth
gets
the
more
back?
information.
So Southwest did that on.
And we had the
one
fire
of their
agreement
engines a while
agreed
ago
on.
and a ladder truck. And I know Don said he would never do it. The amount of money they cost,
Okay.
actually both of those trucks are already out of service and they were refurbished around 10 years ago. And they both, the one they've sold and one is sitting in reserves and they can't even get parts for that kind of stuff. That's what we're kind of running into with 605. It's so old. We're having issues getting parts for the truck itself. The fire engine part is in good shape. It's the truck itself, the chassis itself is what we're having issues with.
So when you say refurbished, is the tank what's gonna be new and the truck that runs it is old? I'm sorry.
I
When
say
they
refurbish.
When they refurbish, well, when they
Well, like,
refurbish,
no, the
they
one
actually,
you're
they'll
looking
do
at.
both.
What,
So this one, the chassis is old,
that's the frame
But-
that the tank
correct.
sits on.
and then all the firefighting equipment on it is brand new.
Okay,
But it came from the fire department, did it? Not
No,
that-
No, this comes from a
It comes
truck
from,
company
This
that
truck company.
builds fire trucks.
This is a builder. so
it's
they
not, we're not gonna get ourselves
We're
in
not
the
getting-
same situation as
We're
we
not
got
getting
with our
an
other.
old, we're not getting someone's job.
Okay, like we.
We're not buying someone's 605 and 605.
Okay.
Is that a good way of explaining it?
That's,
Not as any
that's,
other job.
I'm,
but
I'm
606.
pretty sure of
Yeah.
that, but I just
No, I wouldn't.
clarify.
That's why
you
I
know.
wouldn't go with that. I mean,
I
this being
know
a
you-
bill,
I-
I'm like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to spend, I'm not spending 400. I mean, Larry's like, well, we get money. I'm like, I'm not spending 400,000 on a tanker that, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I read the
What sort
numbers.
of warranty does it have if the truck is that old but the tank is new? You said it has a warranty.
I don't-
Do they cover the chassis and the engine?
That's what I need
under
to
that
check on.
warranty? Okay.
I don't know that. We haven't gotten into that much detail with them. I've just been getting prices and measurements and that kind of stuff from him.
I ran the numbers and we could buy a $400,000 tanker for the same amount of money that we're spending. We're spending 52,000 right now per year on the engine. We could buy a $400,000 tanker for the same amount and not raise taxes. Ben says, I'm not doing that, Larry. I can get one for a whole lot less money than that. And somebody needs to thank Ben for doing the research on here and saving us a couple $100,000. And I thank you, Ben, for coming up.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
coming to the
yeah.
meeting to answer the questions.
Yeah, thanks for coming to answer the questions and, you know, I mean, that's.
All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks.
No, thank you.
Let me
Have a
know
good
if,
evening.
how much money they might need down on
One
that.
quick question, isn't the fire, the budget, there's no budget on the thing for tonight, right? It's just looking on the fire agreement.
Right.
That's just the agreement.
The budget will be in our July, or our August meeting, I mean,
Yeah.
the first hearing.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, Larry, where are we at?
well, I think we're back down to, internal control policy. When we were audited last, March, there were three things, we had an excellent audit, except there were some policy and resolution things that I didn't even know that we even had to have done that I got wrote up on. And the three policies and resolutions were, I did not have an internal control policy resolution. And and I had to do a lot of research just to find out what they meant by internal control policy. And what they mean by it is just, we bring a lot of money in, then the clerk puts it where it has to go. And then I double check all of her work to make sure the numbers have all been entered properly in the right funds. And the money goes there, and it's not like somebody is stealing money from us. And so basically, it's just a way to manage a procedure that I have come up with to manage the money so nobody can steal our money and it's being handled properly. And then also, I did not have a capital asset policy. And basically, the capital asset policy, it's set up for $1,000 purchase and a $5,000 if we want to buy a truck or we buy land or something. I can't spend more than that amount of money without the board's approval. And it's a standard, it's a template that I got from the state. And I basically agreed to what was in that template. But I just changed the names to Jefferson Township and put my name in it and the board's members' names in that. It's nothing that I actually drew up entirely on my own because I'm not that smart. And then we need to come up with a nepotism resolution that there's two different kinds of nepotism policy. One is a contractor's policy, which I had to have in place because my brother Tom is mowing the old cemetery. But what I didn't realize is we had to have a nepotism policy in effect for the board members, that they can't hire their sister or brother or something like that. So that's why there was a little confusion, I think, between Tim and David and I on why we have to sign another nepotism policy. But this one is to protect you guys. I've already signed one for myself, but I have to have one signed by you guys.
We signed though.
No, you know, you gotta sign it. So I've got this here. I'll read it. So every year, each elected officer of a unit shall annually certify in writing, subject to penalties for perjury, that officer has not violated this chapter. An officer shall submit the certification to the executive of the unit, not later than December 31st of each year. So we have to, and that's State Code 36-1-20.2-16. So we have to sign that every year.
But when we signed the nepotism policy, it was our signature on there.
That way Larry's describing it, that's for the contractors. So, but we still have to, as board, even Larry has to sign an annual one. We have to be certified by, we're telling the state, yes, well, I'm not hiring anybody. If we do hire somebody in a family, we have to do another contractor one saying, hey, this is my family.
So Larry, all three of those things that you brought up and you said you took care of, do they have copies of what you signed?
I have been emailing them.
Yeah, we got copies of everything.
I've sent everything out.
I've got copies of it, but, let's take one thing at a time. So we're gonna do the nepotism policy here first? Is that what we're working on since they
Well-
read that?
Well, I'm just saying, that's one of the
Yeah.
examples. So we got a whole bunch of stuff that we need to, because you got the,
Yeah, I know, we
Internal
got a
control
whole
problem,
bunch,
yeah.
but let's start one at a time.
so if you want to do nepotism, we can do that. So we already signed the contractor nepotism, but we just need each one of us still has to sign an annual certification saying we read it and we're
Okay,
agreeing with this. So
you,
Larry, you got copies of that for all of us?
you got the original one we signed. You got,
Right here's a copy.
You never signed. And
I
you
know,
got-
I don't wanna see the
Tim
one
got
we
it.
signed.
Tim got it.
It's the exact same thing that you sent out.
No, wait, see, this
So
is
here.
what you guys gotta sign.
So
This-
Larry, pass it out so we can read it. Thank you.
This is what he's saying we got. to
This
sign.
is the one we have to sign every year. And this is us personally. That's not,
And
as a
I
group.
signed one, I have to sign one also, but I already did mine, because I
Okay,
thought I only had to
this
do
is
one
just
for
for us personally.
To certify with the
So
state.
Yeah.
and all we gotta do is sign it. We don't have to
Yeah,
approve
we don't have
anything.
to approve
Is the
nothing.
old one that you signed there before, is that for 2024?
No, that's completely different. So
That's
what
I
we're,
know, but I'm saying, that's the commercial, but it, you said once a year.
No,
no,
they
that
signed-
goes forever.
Oh,
That
one's
policy,
forever.
that
So
one
you guys
policy,
just per year.
yes, as board members. And that's where I read that statement off.
Yeah,
Each
per
elected
year.
official shall
Okay.
annually.
But the main one, that's just a one-time.
Well, we signed, they signed a nepotism policy for Larry earlier this year, back in no, yeah, when
We did
was
one in
that?
2023 too.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. See, I didn't, I was mistaken.
I got, yeah, I understand.
Okay.
The only thing, Larry, on this nepotism policy, it says the township may enter into a contract or renewal contract with an individual or business entity described in subsection A if all the following are satisfied. And it says, be submitted to the township board and be accepted by the township board in a public meeting prior to final action on the contract or purchase. And that's where that deal with your brother, we asked you to advertise it and you didn't advertise it, but according to this nepotism policy, you are supposed to do what the board asks you on this.
I checked, we had a seminar here in Fort Wayne about a month ago, and I talked with the State Board of Accounts at that time. And I explained the situation.
Who, give their name, please. Who did you talk to?
What was the conference you went to or what?
Yeah,
you talked
well,
to?
who was,
Who was the
State Board of
person?
Accounts.
Yeah,
But
who-
it was
who-
Tanner Hoover.
that's who told you that?
I'm pretty sure it was Tanner.
Well, but
Okay.
isn't that what that means though?
Well, let me
Just
explain.
one thing. We gotta give these to Larry.
I'm paying Tom $2,600 a year. I'm paying Elhannon Cemetery $2,600.
Did you sign
Basically,
No, I didn't sign it.
basically they're the same size.
What do we got? 12.
And I got a quote from a,
What about this conflict of interest that we were supposed to sign?
I'm getting there. We're talking about why I didn't post this in the newspaper like you guys asked. When I talked to the State Board of Accounts, they said, Larry, as long as you're within your budget and you have got a qualified mower that you are happy with, you don't need to post.
Please state his name. So you say
But then,
Tanner Hubbard
just a
told you
moment,
this?
I checked
right?
with another company to see, I want to make sure that we weren't overpaying.
I'm just asking you to state who told you this. It was Tanner Hubbard who told you that, correct?
Huber, isn't it?
Huber?
Hoover.
Okay.
I'd have to get back with you for sure on that, but I'm thinking it was Tanner Hoover, yes.
How many people was there from the State Board of Accounts?
Well, Jonathan, Weininger was there.
Okay, so Weininger was there. Tanner, who else?
Those were the two that ran. There was other people, but those were the two guys that ran the meeting.
Okay, so it was one of them
It
two.
was, I'm sure it was
Okay.
Tanner.
As long as it's on in the minutes, that's all that matters.
So anyway, just to know on my own mind that $2,600 wasn't too much money, I got a quote from an outside source, and it was going to be $3,000. So I was happy with the $2,600. And these guys, Tom don't come to me and says, okay, I'm going to do it for $2,600. And Gary White don't say, Larry, I'll do it for $2,600.
We're not disputing that, Larry.
I know,
We're
but
not
I need to
disputing any of it.
explain where the money came. We just.
It doesn't
I'm
matter
told
where the money came from.
Okay, so you're
All
happy
that
with
ma-
the way it happened?
no. What we were discussing here is you hired your brother when we told you to get bids, and you did not. We told
I
you
had a
twice.
bid. I had a $3,000 bid.
Where is it?
He passed out the last meeting.
I gave it to you.
That's at mine.
Well, that's but we asked you. We did not accept that, and we asked you to get another one, and you agreed at the last meeting to get
I
it.
talked to the State Board of Accounts. They said, Larry, if you are happy with the mower you've got and he's within budget, you don't.
Okay, did we
looking for a
sign?
mower.
Did we sign a conflict of interest over your brother?
Yeah. Well, no.
No. So how did you hire him if the board didn't sign a conflict of interest over
I made a mistake.
it? Well,
We're talking, this was in May now, and the grass is starting. My brother had already mowed it 2 or 3
Yeah, but
times.
let's back up, Larry. We asked you to advertise it in February. We asked to advertise it in April. You agreed in the April meeting to advertise it. It's in the minutes that you agreed to do that.
So I found out I didn't have to.
And then you want us to sign this here nepotism policy, and it clearly states on here,
Well,
that's not
you already
acceptable.
signed
We signed it in
You signed
2023,
it.
and that's good. That's good. We signed.
But we
it.
signed a new one,
Did we resign?
and it's
Yeah, we
But,
signed one.
but the 2023 one is good until we completely change another one.
No,
Until
we
it
changed it in February.
Then we
It's
and it's signed.
You and Tim,
Yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
two signed it. I
And then-
didn't.
and
Yeah,
that's
right
replacement
here.
too.
Yeah, you two signed it. I didn't.
See, this is a resolution, Tim. Once a resolution is drawn up, it never has to be
That's what this
done.
is, that you wanted us to sign.
Yeah.
It's a
That's where
resolution.
I made a mistake. I
Well,
didn't
but then-
realize that.
But then it even told from the state, okay, you have replaced it, because
Well, but we didn't.
we did, we signed it,
But
right?
we-
here.
So that's a new point there.
So
Why can't
this,
we keep
this
using that
is
word?
the new nepotism.
Right, but it's the
policy.
same as the old one, right?
It's the same as the old one,
Okay.
but it has a new date on it. This is the latest one, this is the policy,
What's the?
but it has the same paragraph.
See, I think Larry was under the impression we had to do that every
Right.
year, and we don't have
The
to.
one that was in, I didn't have to do, we got one in 2023. When I came on board, there was one that was already there. I didn't have to do a 2024, and I didn't have to do a 25 because they're resolutions. As long as you don't make any changes, they just stay in effect, just like the fire agreement. The fire agreement was in the same thing for many, many years because there weren't any changes made on it.
So
What constitutes?
we've got this.
Anything in the wording
It's
that's changed.
in place. This here, what we've signed in February is in place. This is the latest one.
Right.
It's in place, and it has that in section B, paragraph 1E, be submitted to the township board and be accepted by the township board meeting prior to final action on the contract or purchase. And that
I
wasn't
made a
done.
mistake there. I apologize for doing that. It was getting to the point where. the
But
yards-
where is the cut, where is the,
So we need,
The,
we need approve, we need to retroactively approve this contract is what you're getting at, Tim, right?
I'm not
I'm
approving
not
it.
approving nothing.
Not until
Not
he
now.
works with us and does
Yeah.
what we ask him.
I want a copy of that conflict of interest. Give me that paper you tried to make us sign, and we didn't sign at the last meeting for conflict of interest.
It's not that I deny
It's-
his brother doing the
Yeah, we
work.
didn't
I
deny it,
just-
AJ. We simply asked him to get bids.
Yeah.
We didn't deny him anything.
That's how I take that, is, you have
The right to ask him to do that.
Yes.
but at the same time, you're kind of ticked off that he's brother's doing it.
No,
No, I'm not
we're
mad at his
all.
brother. There's a process to follow.
It's
I
just,
know,
he,
because I do that for the county commission for the cemeteries. So I know also what it is.
So all we simply asked
But-
for was bids. That's all we
that's all,
asked for.
yeah, that's all we said, okay, advertise it in the paper so other people have a shot at this.
Right,
And that's all
And
we asked him to do.
do you know who he got the last time to get a bid from?
yeah.
The Adams County guy that got, the trustee that got fired or
No, he
or
didn't
let go
He didn't
because
He's been charged.
been charged
He's
with,
mowing it. He is mowing it.
Yeah, but he's been charged. He quit office. It just
That's-
doesn't look good. That's
no.
all.
no, that's
a
who
whole
the bid
different
was from.
situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's,
in the
I mean, we've got
On the
to,
news, yeah.
this will be the
His brother
third.
An LLC or
I don't think any of them are, but
I
they do
don't-
have
I
to
don't
carry a
know.
personal
Yeah,
liability
they-
insurance,
yeah.
which they do carry.
And,
so then by rights, the bid should go up to any citizen who wants to get a policy and put a bid on it. It shouldn't be
I
through
don't-
bids from local contractors.
I don't know that, the law on that.
This is a
If it's under a
Well,
certain
anybody
amount,
can bid on it.
under a certain
If
amount,
he would have just advertised it.
Under
then it
certain
never
amount-
got advertised.
well, guys,
this is
quiet.
2025 though.
Under certain contracts, if it's under a certain amount, you don't have to. With,
But you should, it's still
You-
taxpayer money, and the lowest bid should always
And
take
sometimes-
precedence.
right, but sometimes if you don't get enough bids, you won't get any, you won't have anything. Cause I've run that.
Well, any bid is a bid, and no one would stop his brother from bidding on it.
Correct.
There's a good chance that if it's such a good deal that he's mowing it now and doing a good job, he would still get the bid. But to be fair with taxpayer money, it should get publicized to a bid. And then the lowest bid gets
Or-
the job, the same
Or
way.
he could,
There's a
or,
stipulation to that.
or no, he can ask 3 other people, and if those 3 people, cause they do it other places, they can go out and ask 3 different companies.
I understand,
And
that's
those
not a
two-
fair comparison to one guy with no LLC and just a liability policy, and then going and asking Outdoor Concepts and, 2 other big firms with a lot of overhead, and then saying, well, look, it's $5,000 from him and my brother's $2,600. That's not a fair comparison.
He can go find somebody else. He had somebody else lined up, and that person wasn't doing the job either. But I get it. His brother is always going to be cheaper because he don't have the overhead.
That's what,
You
and,
got that paper?
But-
I mean, the quality of work
Companies
is not
like-
the issue, it should
Big
just go
companies
up.
like
Well, I don't want the
Right.
sign one. That ain't no good. It's,
The
you have to
big
sign a new
companies
one for
don't
this
really
year.
mess with small stuff like that.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
so
get
they
it
would
for one,
overcharge.
too.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just
Let
saying
me
it should
explain.
go up.
Cause
a
I've
bit.
been through that, yeah.
This is the Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement, and you do not have to sign this. I'm the only one that has to sign it.
But,
You guys have to sign the one that you signed, but I am the only one that has to sign this one here.
but,
You had one for us to sign at the last meeting.
I was mistaken. I went back and got with the State Board of Accounts and the DLGF and had it explained to me. And that's where, this is a state form right here. Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement. And I am the only one that has to sign it.
Okay, well, give me a copy of that.
Now, I'm going to explain, it does have a thing here that if you are there's a place here for other signatures, but they are only if it's something to do with hospitals. I'll let you guys.
Yeah, that's
read it.
fine.
write
I'll
you-
look at it.
I'll get you a copy.
I have a small comment. The lowest person, when you run a bid, the lowest person, you want to take is not always the one that's the best.
Well,
Because they,
the state changed that. You don't have to take the lowest bid anymore.
right, because sometimes they nick stones and just like during
I don't think taking the lowest bid is the point.
No,
The point is,
it's
we've
not.
been to 3 or 4 meetings. I have been to 3 or 4 meetings.
I
The
have.
board has asked him to follow through. I'm sorry.
They do interrupt me. I just stuff happened.
Well, but what you were saying didn't matter, I guess.
Well, it
They-
matters to me. This is my township also.
Right.
It matters to me. Excuse you for interrupting me.
We,
But,
I have no problem with his brother mowing.
Got no
It's
problem
just,
with it
we
either.
wanted the public to see, hey, okay, it's his brother. We advertised this, we asked for bids, it's out in the open. And we've done that at 2 meetings, and he just tries to go around. It's just like, well, this guy's told me I don't. Well, the way this reads, it sure sounds like you need to.
Look at this business he has to deal with. And the former trustee didn't do any of this at all. And it's changing every couple of years, the guidelines.
Well, it's, I'll tell you, this board member has just gotten awful frustrated with him doing his own thing. When he has papers that say this is the way it's supposed to be done, and he just does his own thing.
That's what the public feels.
Have they started working on the cemetery down there in Murray?
Yes.
Who's doing that?
Who's doing the work?
It's bell ringers out of Fort Wayne. And we had 4 bids. 2 of them were too far away. Silver Lake, and then a gentleman, Huntington, only does small cemeteries. And he's a veteran, but works part-time. And there's 155 stones at Murray. And he said it was way too bad to put a bid in.
If you look at the last page there, I've got it highlighted. What I did wrong is I did not get your approval to sign the contract with Tom. But I am the only one that needs to sign. You guys aren't allowed to sign contracts. And so I'm the only one that's allowed to sign the contract. What I failed to do is get your approval. You approved Tom last year. I didn't feel I was gonna have to get Tom's, I didn't have to get your approval again for Tom.
Well,
We told you that.
We told you in
We
February.
told you,
we told you
it's
in
in the
April.
minutes that you were made aware of
But
it, Larry.
let's move on. We're not gonna change this. The nepotism policy, we did sign that in February, so we have that nepotism policy for the township. We signed our individual nepotism policy, so that nepotism stuff's done. It's just, I wanted to point out to Larry where we were coming from in the documentation, and it hadn't been followed through. That's end of story.
So Margaret, it says that you signed this on it, or you got this dated April 10th, that you did this April 10th. So you did this April 10th then, you're saying?
Yeah.
At our meeting, why, Are you here?
No, I didn't do it actually. I tell you, there was a misunderstanding with me and how this, I didn't even know this form existed.
So why you got it dated April 10th then?
Because that was going to be our last meeting and I thought we were going to take care of it then. But you guys told me I had to go out and get a couple more bids. And that's when I found out I really didn't need to get a couple more bids. But that's why it's dated April 10th. I was going to have you guys, I thought you guys had to sign it, but I found out you didn't have to sign it. We've got a good mower, guys. He said he would mow the mower, he would mow that for free. He's got a grandma that's buried out there. He said I'd mow it for free. I've got 3 really good mowers. When I took this job over, the cemeteries were not getting mowed properly, and now they are. They look beautiful. And while we're talking cemeteries, Elhannon is completed now. Gary, the White family is going to go out there and do some cleaning on the stones because they wanted about $2,000 more to clean the stones. And the Whites are going to go out there and clean the stones. But as far as being repaired, all those tombstones in all 3 cemeteries have now been repaired.
How much money do we have in it? Or this time?
This time it was 8,800 some. They quoted it as 9,000 and something.
So we had, last year, we had what, 25 in it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And
It was
another-
originally quoted at 45,000. And we got it done for 25,000 plus 8,000.
So we came under that 40.
Now, next year we'll be able to lower our cemetery maintenance down to practically nothing. We've got all 3 cemeteries are now completed. Okay, now let's get, okay. Then we're done with the,
We're done.
let's talk about internal control. There again, this is what I got from the state was they just call it a template, and I go through and I read it and I agree to what's in here. And I sent this to you.
So you're
guys
saying you
before.
got these from the state then?
Well, the one here, this one I think was the ITA. Yeah. This internal control policy here was from the ITA. But I read it and I changed the things. The only thing I changed in it was like Jefferson Township and names and stuff like that. But the language is, it's the same template as the ITA uses, which has been approved by the state. And I was supposed to have this done 6 months after our audit, but I didn't get it done. And then I sent you guys the letter I got from the State Board of Accounts telling me they were pretty nasty with me. They said this has to be taken care of within 60 days. And so what I'm asking you guys to do, since you've read everything, I'm asking you to sign this internal control policy. So I told them I would have it turned back into them by June 16th. So I get out of.
Okay. This here, what page are you wanting us to sign? This page 9?
Well, now you're page 7 would be the first one.
Do you
to
have a
sign.
good copy of that?
I think I do. Yeah.
Have you read all 9 pages?
I've gone through
I've
them.
read it. Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah. We did
Whether
get
it's-
this,
I just got several pages that have signature things on it. That's why I want to make sure.
Which page is he saying we gotta sign?
That's what he's gonna hand over here so we can. Which one did
This
that?
top page is something else, AJ, but the rest of it is
So I'll take that one out of the way. That way I can.
what I'm asking you to
Oh,
sign
page 7 here.
Yeah.
would be,
Okay, got it.
would be 7.
Page,
That's what was throwing me off is page 9 also has our signature.
Right. 9, see, there's different.
you guys wanna
there's
read
different-
this over? This is what he's asking us to
There's
sign. Anybody
different
wanna read it
portions.
over?
Okay, I see the difference now.
The, 9 is actually a resolution,
The first one's,
directive.
the first page is directive, which.
So which paper are we talking about?
So page 7 is the first
Okay.
one.
Let's go over page 7.
And 7 is a resolution.
You
And
have
once-
a copy of it.
Yeah, this would be the one. we're gonna
Once
sign.
this is signed, unless we change the language in it, you'll never have to sign the resolution again.
Okay. The township, this is section 2 there. The township board calls upon the trustee and all township officials, employees, and agents to enforce and comply with the policy on materially and process for reporting material items and to report noteworthy items to the township board oversight committee or the full township board. And there's another place in one of these other papers, the oversight committee is the township board.
Yeah.
It says that in one of these other papers.
Right, and that's where we gotta sign that other page.
And-
That states that
And
stuff.
here's when we talked last year and you were gonna appropriate money into 2025 from 2024, we told you the fire contract ended at 2024, December 31st. They canceled our contract and you appropriated money and brought it into 2025 where it said for our fire protection, we were going to pay them 2 payments for 2025, the 122,000. So we're paying 122,000. We're paying 54,000 on an engine. And now we're bringing $10,000 that was left into the year and giving it to them. We would have fire protection without doing that. And the reason we had done it in the years past, because that contract had carried on every year. But that contract didn't carry on every year. It ended at the December 31st, 2024.
But what he spent that 10,000 was for gear for 2024. They didn't get the final bill till 2025.
But-
That's why he got carried over.
But it ended at 2024. So there was no gear that we were liable to buy for
We
2025
told them not to. That's all that matters.
because we had 2 payments. They said this ends right here. The contract.
Let's stop fighting about that. It's done and over with.
Well,
If you
that's-
guys complain about it, call the state police. and have them arrest them.
That's not the point. The point is, we told them not to do it. That's the point.
That's part of what this resolution is
Yes,
saying
it's a
if
majority,
you don't
right?
think
You argued
something's
that
right,
last meeting.
you tell this committee. And that was 2 of us out of the 3 says, we don't feel this is right.
Right. And it didn't happen.
Earlier, you just told the firefighters earlier, you appreciate them. Well, now you're saying, I don't appreciate you enough to buy you gear.
It wasn't
That's not-
what
that's
the
not the
firefighters
point.
did to it. It was what the town did and the way the
Yes,
town
that's
treated
not
us. Is
We're
what
not
it was.
making nothing against the fire department
right.
or the firefighters. That
It's
ain't got
what-
nothing to do with it.
Well, you guys are holding grudges against everybody. It don't matter
No
who it is.
grudges against
You
anybody.
are. You just mentioned the town of Ossian. That's a grudge against the town of Ossian.
No, I'm just saying what they did.
That's
What
what he's saying.
they're just trying to
It's a
make
new
it fair for everyone.
contract.
Okay,
It was
let's
a
go
contract.
past. Let's move
No,
on.
we got-
I'm done.
No, after you told me about that, I got a hold of the state board of council. Let me read what they said. Good afternoon, Larry. Yes, you are correct in that the 2024 encumbered money is added to the 2025 approved budget for the fire fund. I have included an excerpt and encumbrances from the State Board of Resource Library for reference. So I don't ever want to hear you talk about encumbered funds again. We've done it ever since I've been here.
But-
We've done encumbered funds.
We have because we had a contract.
Read the letter.
I'll read it. But we had a contract that went on, and that's why,
Tim, we're not gonna discuss it no more.
well,
I did what you did. I went to the state board of accounts and I checked it out. And if you got-
who'd you talk to there?
Well, that came from the township. They didn't say directly who he talked to.
Who's the individual you talked to?
They switched me over to another state. I don't even know if they've got the name.
It's just the generic schools township state of board of accounts email. It looks like Tanner sent that out. If you look at the second page, right there's Tanner's signature.
But you didn't put in here that the contract had ended at
See, that
2024.
has that nothing to do with it.
No,
I told,
that's
I
the
talked
point.
to him on, Tim, and look, it's over, it's done. We had $79,000 worth of money in the budget last year, and the fire chief had enough left over that I could buy him $10,000 worth of fire gear.
We're gonna get an answer. The state board of accounts is working with us. We'll have an answer.
When you get an answer from the state board of accounts, let me know.
So do we need approval, we need a motion on the township board resolution for the first page, for page 7. I'll make a motion, we approve that resolution for page 7.
I've got one here to sign if you want to sign this one. I've got a long.
Now, we signed these. Are you gonna follow these papers, what they say?
Of course.
Well, you didn't follow this one. That's
Well,
what
we
I'm
have-
saying.
Well, we never had that in place, Tim, so now this gives you more power that you're looking for.
I'm not looking for no power.
Well, it sounds like you are. But I make the
AJ,
motion, I make the motion, we
AJ.
accept this, the resolution on page
Yeah, this is
7.
the one I'd like to have you sign. It's all marked up.
Well, we gotta have a second and.
Okay.
Well, this has got a lot of other pages on it.
No, it's the same amount.
It's the same, just,
I just got it marked where it needs to
So-
be signed.
that's fine, let's
Yeah, but I'm
hang on
not
to that.
signing all these. There's other things on some of these.
That's
others I
fine.
wanted to
Let's-
discuss.
We're going-
Sign
so-
page 7 right now.
We're not, Larry, just hang on to that till we're done. So
No,
right now,
we're gonna do these one at a time.
right,
Yeah,
so
one
page
at a
7,
time.
I make the motion, we approve the resolution on page 7.
I'll second it. That's a policy.
All in favor?
All right,
Give us that. Let's sign it.
well, let's wait till we do all of them. So we can-
No, I'm
No.
not gonna
Give it,
go through and try to figure out what we agreed to sign, what we didn't agree to sign.
Okay.
Give us the paper,
Sign 7.
pull it out of there, give it to us.
So you voted no?
Yep.
Okay, did you write that down, Tim, that he voted no on this?
I didn't write it down. That's his job.
No. On your minutes, you need to write that.
It'll come off of,
Okay.
as long as it's recorded in the
It
minutes,
is,
it'll
it's
be there.
there. I just want to make sure you get your notes. All right, so the next resolution is page 8 and 9.
Okay, 8 and 9 go together. The 9 is the one that needs to be signed.
Right. Well, I mentioned next resolution is page 8 and 9.
Well, okay. This is, says the township board resolution regarding the system of internal accounting control and design of an oversight committee.
It's,
Page 8, top.
Page 8. Whereas the policy of the township.
No, this here's one.
You're reading this in here, right?
I'm reading
Oh,
up here.
okay, put up the top, okay.
Okay. It says down here, the second paragraph, whereas the policy of the township is to implement a system of internal accounting control that provides reasonable assurance that the emissions and objectives of the township are achieved with regard to receiving, processing, depositing, distributing, or otherwise having access to government funds and complies with the requirements of the State Board of Accounts, and it has sections section below it, but then it says, now therefore be it resolved. And down in section 2, it says, the township board hereby appoints the following members of the board to serve as the internal control oversight committee. The oversight committee in parentheses for the year 2025. The board delegates all of its internal control authority and responsibilities to the oversight committee, subject to action by the full township board, provided the oversight committee shall promptly report to the full township board any weaknesses or failures in internal counting that come to its attention. And if you look on the back page on section 3, it says control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information, communication, and monitoring. But one thing it doesn't have in there is that 2 signatures are required on the fire and EMS checks from the trustee or representative and from the township board president and his or her representative.
You guys voted on that 2-1. I got with the State Board of Accounts, and the State Board of Accounts said I would be in violation of other Indiana codes if David was allowed to sign that check. And that's why I have not done it.
It's not that way. So I am making, making amendment to this proposed resolution on the township board to include the 2 signatures on the fire check under these as a check. And we put that in place because you haven't followed the contracts.
Tim, do you have a code that says that we can do that? Before I can do any motion on that, I need to know where.
No, I can do any motion I want.
Well,
We just have to motion it on here.
Is it approved by the state that we can do that?
I'm talking to the state on it, and they said if I didn't talk to the state, I talked to a state representative.
Well,
And he had talked to the state.
okay.
And he said they told him, and it's coming out in the next couple weeks, if we went through the proper channels and had it in our meeting and put that in as a control, it is a legitimate control.
I want that.
So-
I want that in writing from
Well,
whoever the state rep is, or from the state board of accounts.
Tim, just let it go.
So I make a motion that we put that into this resolution.
You can't do that until you get approval from the State Board of Accounts.
No, I can put in there anything I want. Now they can throw it out, but I can put it in there. So I make a motion that we.
Approved by the State Board of Accounts.
So this has got to be redone then. If you're not going to approve, if it's got to be redone, it's got to be rerun. We can't do anything on that.
I got it wrote in here and.
Well, it's got to be in there and approved with the your handwriting can't be in there. It's got to be redone completely. So that resolution has to be redone.
Well, then it's gotta be redone. You're not gonna get it signed tonight then.
Once I get State Board of Approval, then I'll retype that.
Well, okay, you're not gonna,
If you don't want to sign it tonight, that's entirely up to you.
And then
that's,
Larry, you go to the state board of accounts with your email saying, hey, they did not approve this and want some language change. And that's all you got. You just send that email to them because you got your 60-day
and
clock.
send them the minutes where we approved that in a board meeting. Send them the paperwork that we approved that.
I'm going to talk to the State Board of Accounts.
So Larry, Tim, what state representative were you talking to? You guys asked what state board account Larry talked to. Who did you talk? What state rep did you talk to? So I could talk.
Larry never told me who he talked.
He said he talked to Tanner and
He's not a state representative.
not a state representative, but he said he talked to the state board of accounts earlier.
Well,
I want to know that same information. You guys asked him who he talked to. You didn't ask, but David did.
it'll be coming out in the next couple weeks.
Well, I need to know now, so I can
He
talk to
told
him.
me I'll have an answer for you in 2 weeks, but this is what.
If you want to tell me after, so it's on public record, that's fine. But I want to know who you talked to, so I could talk to the same person. I want to know my answers too.
Well, you talk to your representatives and see who will do anything for you or what. You seek out your legislative people to help you then.
He didn't want to put it in there. It's in the minutes.
Get a letter. Why can't you get a letter from the State Board of Accounts, Tim?
Because I got the representative dealing with them. I ain't dealing with them. We've talked to
We're
them.
talking to people at the state board of accounts. We don't need to talk to the state rep. Are you talking about a state representative?
Yeah.
Well, that,
All right, let's just move forward.
Move on to the next one. What's the next one, Larry?
That's it. So we're done with
no,
that one.
no, we got capital assets.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. That was the first page.
What page number?
That's the
That's
first
the
page. That's the
first-
very first one.
That's the. The trustee just have to sign that. 6.
What, this?
No, there's one
No,
with
no,
the
no, that's
capital
right here.
assets, Tim. Remember, it's
This
got
is
the-
page 6. What
No,
page
no,
is it?
it's the very first one. This is what it looks like. Here, you can have that one.
Remember, it's got the capital assets on it.
Right, it's that fine print one.
Mhm.
But basically all, what it's stating is the only thing we have capital asset is the cemeteries.
Well, we have fire equipment.
Yeah.
But is it,
That's a capital asset.
under the jurisdiction of this, code, that the 5-11-1?
Any
Same
asset,
policies for instruct buildings.
any
improvements,
asset
and
over
equipment-
$5,000.
And equipment, so yeah. it would
what
be-
this says,
it's
it has to
equipment.
be reported if it's over that amount of money.
So it doesn't have to be included in this
But
resolution.
Not
but
having
he's
to-
got land in here under the
Right,
description.
it has to be approved. If I go to spend more than $5,000, you guys have to approve. it.
But you have listed land and we have other assets. We have the fire trucks, we
True.
have fire gear.
This is just saying that I can't spend over $5,000. If I
Well, why
No,
does
you
this
got the
land in?
value, you got
Why is the value of the
cemetery.
land
I
in
only
there?
could, I could never, nobody could ever figure out what our cemeteries are worth. The state board of, or the DLGF said, Larry, the cemeteries have a value to them. So I got with Tony Crow and I said, Tony, come up with a fair value for the cemeteries. And he came up with 13,000. The only reason I put that in there is because nobody ever knew it before. I should have put note next to it because it's really not part of this, but I just wanted everybody to know that it did, the cemeteries did have a value.
So you just
But-
basically have to publish a yearly asset report, correct?
Right.
Because assets could change year to year.
Right.
So,
So that's what this is saying. You just gotta publish it, but
Right.
for this purpose of the land that we own is just the cemeteries, you put that in there to specify that the land's never gonna change from that amount.
Right.
But
I should have put note next
So-
to it.
well, it can change from that amount.
It can change.
Land goes up and down.
It does, but cemeteries, is the cemetery really gonna go up and down?
But
Who's gonna buy a
I'm,
cemetery?
I have a problem with just part of the assets, either none of them or all of them
Yeah,
be
it
this.
says
This
equipment.
has nothing to do, I just got the inventory from Ben. We've got $1.2 million worth of fire trucks and assets. This here is just saying, if I want to spend more than $5,000, I have to get your approval. It has nothing to do with how much we actually own.
But I don't understand why this is in here then.
Why, what's in
Either
there?
all of the assets need to be listed.
If I took a black magic marker and crossed it out, would you be happy?
I'd be a lot happier than not.
What if I put a note, but I just want it, well, someday I'm not gonna be trustee, and
It
somebody's
says right
gonna
here,
say,
Larry, it
what's the
says right
value?
here, Larry, it says right here that every township is to have a capital assets policy that details the threshold at which an item is considered a capital asset.
And that's what this
That's what
is.
that's
And that's what,
That's what the 5,000 and 1,000 is saying.
So then he's got,
so, hold on.
so this is just setting the threshold.
Wow.
It's at the threshold.
So that,
It
that's
could be
where,
15 or 20,000 or.
and that's where you
1,000.
got, that's where you
Then
have to
take
report
the
that.
land out of there. Either have all the assets listed or take it out.
That's just the threshold. So the land can go up in value. It just, the threshold for the land is 13,000. So what he really needs to do is mark out Old Aussie and Elhannon and Arsenal cemeteries. Then the asset value of over 13,000, then he's got to list that every year. He's got to report that every year that our assets are over that amount. So what it really needs is just mark out Old Aussie and Elhannon and Archbold.
It says the township board has reviewed the trustees' capital assets threshold policy, which is as followed. So that should not be listed as a threshold in the
The
threshold.
threshold was 13,000. So the value of the land is going to be higher than 13,000 is what he's claiming. So that's the threshold. So if we buy a piece of sliver of land that's only worth $500, he doesn't have to report that.
Okay, if I cross out land, Austin, Elhan, $113,000, you'd be happy?
I think you still have to, your threshold has to be some number, so leave the 13,000 as your threshold. Just mark out the actual old
Well,
Aussie
the
and
two
Elhan.
thresholds are 5,000 and 1,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's what the two.
The 13,000 was just put in there just so you guys know what it's
Yeah.
worth.
The
So mark
thresholds are fine.
Just mark out the
whole-
land, so
the
land
whole
is just,
thing out.
there's no threshold for land, it's just, we gotta
Mark
report
the land out. It's any asset over 5,000.
Okay.
Okay, so if I cross out the line that's got 13,000 on it, you approve it?
That would be true.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as you guys are happy with them levels, 5,000.
Yeah, that's
And
what
we
we're-
can change them levels.
Yeah,
Right, we can change them in the future, but then that's just a new resolution. But that keeps our trucks that have to be reported and all the other gear that we have. Or equipment. I make the motion, we accept it with the removal of the land line.
I'll second.
I don't know, we have to approve, or we gotta, well, I guess I can say we gotta vote on it, doesn't it? Well, I'm not voting until it's done, till it's signed, or, excuse me.
We're gonna
until
sign the
it's-
one
He's got blocked out. So we need, there's a motion and a,
But is that, you're sending that copy to the state, the blacked out copy?
yes.
Yeah, he's got
That's the one we're
All right,
signing.
that's- as
We're
long as
signing
it's
it.
The one that he sent to the state, that he's not gonna rewrite it.
Larry, do
All in
you keep
favor?
copies of all this that you do,
Aye.
or you email it so you have the original? How do you do that?
I store it on my computer, but I always have a hard copy of it.
Thank you.
Is that the last one then?
Since we
That's the last-
So you don't wanna allow us to amend that one and sign it?
No, not until I get a letter from the State Board of Accounts saying that David is allowed to,
I think so. That's where I feel comfortable too, that
That was the last one of these.
Yeah. I want a copy of them ones we signed.
when we get done, I'll give you copies of whatever you want. Okay, I guess we're down to, discuss the 2026 fire agreement.
no, we redid that.
Asset
Oh, you
policy.
Agreement. Jim
Asset,
said he had some changes.
So what about the credit card policy? We
That's
never
part of the,
discussed
that's
it.
part of the
That's
internal
part
control.
of,
Internal control.
we already approved the credit card policy, right after I took office. The board approved that.
That's just part, that documentation is part of the internal controls. So that policy there is part of the internal controls law. That's the internal controls.
Along with that, the way that the money is handled by the clerk and by me, that's part of that internal control policy.
Which we didn't officially approve that part of it because we need to get clarification on the
so
check writing for the fire.
Right.
where does it says here, the purpose for which the credit card may be used must be specifically stated in the ordinance or resolution.
It's in that original, that
The
thing
bigger
we
one.
signed back in 2023 is what you guys agreed to let me have a credit card if I agreed to those terms.
So that would be for my time then, because I don't remember that.
Right, Jim Brewer was here then.
So you, we might want to send that one back out so they have refresh on their
Yeah.
mind on that one. Because we'll have to re-update that anyways with the other part, so resend that. resolution
That's
out.
supposed to be signed every year.
I don't think so, it's one of those type
But
things.
it's part of that internal control.
Correct, it's
so
part of the
we
internal
need to-
control, so we need to know that.
We need to have that because we can change it. Okay. So what's next, Larry?
Oh, the actual fire agreement.
Tim said there were some changes that he wanted to discuss at the meeting and get your guys' approval. And then whatever changes you guys want made, then I'm gonna take it to the town council. And the town council will either approve what you've changed or they'll wanna set up a joint meeting to discuss it. So Tim,
Okay, good.
what changes would you like to discuss?
I think the thing needs to be an interlocal agreement between Ossian and Jefferson, not Ossian telling us what we're gonna do.
So that changes that up and won't be, then that becomes a fire territory.
No.
At that point.
You can have an interlocal agreement. That's what we had before. And that's what Uniondale, Markle, Rock Creek, Union Township, that's what they have, is just an interlocal agreement.
That's the same, then what you're wanting is just the same as what we have right now. It is an agreement between us and.
An
Ossian.
interlocal agreement
We
Okay.
do have that.
So we got
between
that.
Ossian and Jefferson
Okay, we got that.
Township, okay. The fire department is renamed Ossian Jefferson Township. If we're paying half the money, we should, our name should be out there so people know we own half this.
Can I write a copy of that so we can all look at it?
I don't care. You can read my writing. That might be a little tough. I'm gonna use the rest.
You guys want a copy too? You want to make?
On the fire agreement.
Well, the fire agreement hasn't changed. It'd be the one that we got last. We're just discussing what we want to change in it. If you want to copy what Tim wants to change in it, then just say something if you do. If you hear something, just say something if you want a copy of it. We'll get it for you. Agenda.
Okay, 2. The fire department is renamed Ossian Jefferson Township. That's on there.
And we agreed that the number one, we don't have to do anything there. That's already.
No, it's an interlocal agreement.
But it's already done. though.
So,
Well, you guys think it's done. It's an interlocal agreement. You can see if they agree. If they agree that's an interlocal agreement, whether it's a contract with them. There's a difference.
Okay, go ahead.
Each taxing unit retains the titles for their trucks. Any new trucks are purchased by one or the other taxing unit, not both. As turnout gear and other equipment wears out, it is bought by the Aussie and Jefferson Township Fire Department. In other words, you can buy that jointly, but there'll be a list.
Okay, so we're gonna buy turnout, we're probably gonna, if it's in the budget, we're gonna buy turnout gear this year.
That'll be on a list, and that's in that 2025 contract. They're gonna send us at the end of the year any equipment, anything we've bought like that was jointly owned.
So if we buy some, if we do, let's say we buy 2 sets of turnout gear, $5,000 a piece. How do you want me to, you want one set added to the inventory? Is that what you're saying?
No, you'll have an inventory sheet that you'll get from them at the end of the year, and it'll say, this is what they own half of it, and this is what you own half of it.
They send us what they purchased. So they send that each time they purchase anything. So we have that.
But we need a sheet at the end of the year, not 30 pages per month. That has, they send us the cover sheet. I mean, here's April's report, and it's like 30 pages every month. Now, if you want to keep track of your inventory, you want to have to dig through something like.
I just gave you what you wanted. You wanted the invoice.
Well, you're asking me what I want here, and I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so you wanted just an asset report at the end of the year of what they bought. Okay.
What the Aussie Fire Department bought, so we know what we own and they own together.
So basically,
Yeah,
whatever they
what
bought
we
that
own
year
together.
is what they need to put in that sheet. That's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we know what we
That's
own.
easy.
We don't care whether they paid the phone bill on that. That's what all this has got in there.
Right.
We're talking about when they buy gloves, when they buy
So
hats.
you just want that added in there saying, hey, at the end of the year, Ben just needs to send a report out. I bought all this gear here. I bought
Well, we
10
need,
turnout gears. And that's all you want to know. We bought 10 turnout gears this year.
yeah.
Well,
And
it's not
let-
like fire
but
hose
it
or
need-
anything like
Right.
that.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you should talk about that's what
But-
the main point.
But it needs to list the date of purchase because all that stuff
Well,
has.
that's easy to do too. So.
I'm just trying to tell you, just don't jump down my throat.
I'm just trying to make this simplified so it's easy. Next item.
Wait till Larry gets back.
On that inventory list, I mean, isn't that supposed to be done anyway?
Well, that's gonna be different.
See,
Now
and
everything's owned jointly.
really, the inventory list, I had this conversation with Larry the other day. The inventory list in these controls is not supposed to be done by, like Ossian having the inventory list when we bought the stuff, which that's what we had done in the past. You know, we bought stuff and he depended on them to supply us the inventory list. The controls say, hey, you're responsible for this. You
Yeah, we gotta know
you
what we
keep
got.
track of your own list.
Yeah.
Jim, this is the brand new inventory. And this has got the turnout gear that you guys bought last year on it. This is the radios that were added. And then the rest of this is the same inventory that we had from the last time. So here's new copies, and it has all that included in there.
Okay.
Where was we at here? Fire department is supported by each taxing unit special or separately. In other words, like now, we're putting in so much, they're putting in. Each taxing unit has equal say in the budget and will support it equally. And we did not get equal say in that last budget. And the reason we didn't get equal say, none of the people that were responsible for the budget was there. Nobody from the town was there. It was just us talking to the firemen, which we didn't, they've got a contract with Ossian, but, and whenever we questioned them, you know, when we questioned him on the fuel, it said, well, Larry didn't have all them.
Well, see, the trouble is, the town doesn't come up with the budget. Ben presents the budget, and whether they accept it, yes or no, is at that point. So I get where you're
But
coming
see,
from. You want to be able to say yes or no on that budget.
That's exactly right. If we're gonna pay for it, we need to be able to say yes or no, but
But
an example was the fuel, and I understand their explanation on Larry's part because it was all jumbled together. But you know what? Ben didn't give us the amount he spent on fuel from the town. Remember they called, but they never give us that number? Now let me finish, AJ. So I went back and looked it up and he put $4,000 down for the town budget for fuel and he spent 2,300.
you just don't know year to year.
But when we need to be
So
able.
what will happen with that is if you say no, then it goes right back to Ben and Ben has to redo that budget again. Then he has to come back again, is what you're trying to say.
We gotta have some say. We have to be able to say, hey, you put in here $4,000. You only spent 23. I don't think you need that much, Ben. Gas hadn't went up that much. Even if you drive a little more, that's $1,700 more. That's a big percentage more.
Ben, we probably won't budget for that much next year.
Tim, that could have been one of those numbers and you agreed that I should have done it last year.
And that's maybe where he's
You've
gonna
got
budget.
too much money in one, you can move it to another one.
And next year's budget, he probably won't budget so much on fuel, but he'll put more in manpower.
I
get where you're trying to say, but it's in there. Okay, let's go.
I'm trying to explain when we try to ask any questions on that budget or how we've been treated, and that's not going to work. That is not going to work. At least we have to have some say. We had no say in that.
You agreed to it, so you had your say. You agreed to it.
We agreed to it because we didn't have a choice. But
you agreed to it.
This is right now.
At this point, I'm gonna go through Tim's list and we'll have public comment. We need to get through this. We're at 2.5 hours. I want to get this done, so let's go.
Are you running the meeting though?
I want to get done.
Jumping in here.
I know.
Jumping down everybody's throat.
Hold on. What is
Let's get through this list and have the public comment.
Hold on a minute. What you got to say?
Yeah.
One simple thing. 30 seconds. All I'm saying is I get what you're saying. The point is now is it's been made. Now, instead of assuming, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to take that into account when we get that new budget. And then it will be time to say again if there's a problem. So I agree. Let's move on.
Yeah, I agree.
okay, the fire agreement for manpower is wrote to Ossian right now. Ossian Fire Inc. has a contract to Ossian. They don't have a contract to us. And that contract basically says we will supply manpower to the Ossian Fire Department. That was wrote in 1992. In 1992, them firemen probably wasn't getting any more than a little bit of clothing allowance and an attaboy. It's been done, and we're spending $130,000 on manpower. We're paying half that, so they're spending. We deserve to have some pay or some say in how Ossian Fire Inc. is operated, and they need to be able to answer to us. So that contract needs to be wrote to include Jefferson Township. Not they're supplying manpower to Ossian and Jefferson Township Fire Department, not Ossian. So that needs to be rewrote.
We're paying half it now, so that's a true statement.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go on, Tim. What's the next one?
The taxing units have the say in what areas that it is going to have primary coverages for fire, first responder, and rescue. When they're going to take on other areas, it needs to be run by us because we're paying for the firefighters, we're buying the fuel. It's costing us more money.
Did the fire chiefs make that decision, what territories everybody covers?
No, but they, like he took on more area with his rescue and that and changed.
Like he stated tonight, he did not. That was a misunderstanding between Mike Miller and
We'll see
John.
how that comes out because AJ, I talked to other firemen, other departments, and they said it wasn't that way.
I talked
Ben,
Tim, just
Ben-
let it go.
let's move
Let it
Ben
go.
pushed the
So
point.
Ben and John are gonna talk about it and talk with Mike, so we'll follow up with
So
Larry.
that, well, we're getting back to this. That's why I put that in there.
Okay,
Okay. The fire chief will report to both taxing units at their meetings. At the Ossian meeting, Dennis said Ben doesn't have to talk to them guys. Our contract is with Ben. They have no contract with Ben. He doesn't have to come and talk to us. He did tonight, and I appreciate that. But it needs to be in there, in that agreement that he does have to come and talk to us. If we have questions, we're spending the money for half of this. We deserve to be able to ask him questions on just like this. Maybe he says it's a misunderstanding. There's conflicts on that, but at least we got an answer of what. And according to Dennis, and Dennis is right, he didn't have to come and talk to us. But that needs to be rewrote so if we want answers on something, we can get them.
I don't think you want to put down will report. You may want to ask if he can explain the budget, but he's not going to.
It's not about the budget, it's about other things.
He's not going to report to us.
Well, he reports to the town. They're half.
He comes to their meetings every day.
Yeah, it's,
No,
Yes, he does. He comes to every one of their meetings.
No, he
and gives
does
a
not.
report. Yes, he does.
no, he doesn't. He was only to one this year. I've been to every single one of
well,
them.
then he sends somebody to report.
No,
No, he doesn't.
no, they don't always get reports every
Okay.
month.
How
So,
about come
So if,
ask?
yeah, if we ask,
There we
for him to
go.
come,
If we ask.
if we ask the fire chief to come to the meetings,
then put it in that, because Ben does not come to every single one of Ossian's meetings. Unless he has something that needs to be brought up.
Maybe not every single one, but I've been to 10 of them in the last several months, and he was at every single one.
Every
So
one
it
of
was
them.
an
They
awesome
ask for the fire
shot.
report every time.
He wasn't at the
First
last
thing they
one.
ask.
He's only
That
been,
may be, I don't go to every.
he's only
I'm
been to
saying
one this
it's-
year. He's only been to one this year, I can tell you that.
I've been
All right,
to
let's
one
look-
this year.
if the fire chief is asked to come
Yeah.
to either taxing units meetings, he will come and answer their questions. As far as I'm a little different on, the fire chief can be removed if it is the best interest of Ossian Jefferson Township Fire Department. We're paying him $12,000 a year salary, providing a vehicle to him to drive, that we supply the maintenance, insures fuel, so we are afforded some say. I guess
You want that crossed out?
well, how do you guys feel on it? You think?
That's a completely different situation, because Ossian Fire Inc. appoint the fire chief. The town does not appoint the fire chief.
They do, but if he gets a wildcat and then doing his own thing, like,
Starting your own fire department?
what do you mean?
So,
That was an attempt at a cheap shot.
Yeah, I know it. That was a pretty cheap job, you know, but, and I go back and tell Larry what,
Wow,
you owe me an apology for that.
No, you owe me an apology for coming up with this stupid idea the last time.
all right, let's just move forward, guys.
That is awful. We didn't have any choice when they told us they were gonna constantly. That's awful, Larry. That is awful.
Okay, number 9.
I'll tell you,
Let's just go to number 9.
Number 9.
We've been in.
Okay, Aussian Fire Inc. is collecting money for runs that insurance companies are willing to pay for. Aussian Fire Inc. is also collecting money for rescue runs that the county is paying for. He told you that tonight. Aussian Fire Inc. at the end of the year will provide a copy of their books on any monies received and spent, including donations. And that should be because they are receiving public money. They are a private outfit, but they are receiving public money. So we need to know, okay, how much money are they getting from the insurance companies and how are they using it?
Discuss that.
Okay, I already covered 10. That. If we're going to support half the budget, no bills can be paid until the township signs off of them. In other words, we're supplying half the money. The town has to agree it. The township has to agree it, and then the town can pay them.
No, that's not gonna work. We got a
What?
contract that says we'd pay 61,000 in June, 61,000.
That's
In December.
that's the last contract. We're talking about the new
Oh, the new
contract.
Okay.
We're talking about the
This is
2026
what he
contract.
wants added in.
Yes.
Whether or
Yeah.
not Austin agrees to it.
Yeah.
I've got one favor. I'd like to have this typed up. So I can.
Type it up. I
No,
don't care.
no, I want you to type it up because I can't read some of your works here.
Well, that's what you're getting.
I want it typed up.
It'll be
so
in the
I-
minutes. It'll be in the
I'd like
minutes.
to have it typed up so you can present it officially to the town council.
I'm not a typer. I told you that, Larry.
Don't you have somebody you know that? can
I
type this up
I
for you?
pay him.
Okay, pay them to type it
I
up.
believe
These guys might want to add something.
It happened at a meeting, the board member requested, get it typed up, Larry, your secretary can type it up.
She can't read it. I can't read it. The only guy who can read it is Kim.
Well,
This
you'll have
lady
to get the minutes in. When you
This
get the
lady that's
minutes, you'll
helping
have.
you, can't you have her type it up for you like you do?
No, I'm not gonna do that. You'll get the minutes.
This is
All right,
why-
let's move forward.
Do you guys have anything you want added in there?
Nope.
This is not the Tim Baker show. You guys,
I'm perfectly fine with the old agreement.
I'm perfectly fine with what you've added, I would agree.
one thing I would like to say, and you know, there's been a lot of talk about fire territories. I've read the paper. And Bluffton, Lancaster, and Harrison are in a territory. They put $1.5 million into a pot for that territory. Okay, now the territory can't own anything. So they bought a new ladder truck and it's going into Bluffton's name. And they're getting
Lancaster, they cover that too.
they put money in, right, they put money in, but see, the title of that truck will be to Bluffton
There's a reason behind it. I can't remember what the reason.
because the fire territory can't
I think the
own
territory,
equipment.
yes, they can.
I don't report on City of Bluffton.
Okay,
I'm not the most familiar. I don't want to speak.
That's
for myself,
Jonathan's,
but-
Jonathan,
yeah.
okay.
I don't feel good speaking on something.
So that's something you need to ask Scott Mincer, would be a perfect guy to ask that. Because there's a reason they did it
Well,
that way. And I can't remember why they did it that way, but the territory can own equipment because they do own equipment. They own
Yeah.
4 trucks they bought in the last 2 years, and it's in the fire territory's name.
I don't think the territory can.
Territory can. They
So
bought,
what about, can the territory own a station then?
they can. So that's-
I don't
They
think
can. The territory is its own, it's just the tax money's flowing through the town of
Okay.
Bluffton, but it is its own entity. But yes, the territory can own equipment. So, any other questions?
As far as the contract, my thing on the contract is that I was happy with the old one. I don't understand what the accounting, that the town's,
You mean the one from 2024?
yep, the original contract. I do not understand what the town's ordeal, that it's an accounting nightmare. It's an accounting nightmare now.
It is not
For the town,
accounting.
for the
I
town.
take care of the accounting, and it's been working it out perfectly. How many times have you taken care of it? I didn't.
I'm just saying, that's my opinion of it.
Okay. that's fine.
Okay.
We got one thing left, and that's the township assistance guidelines.
Did you put the quick guide in?
I am not putting the quick guide in because I'm not gonna use it.
Larry, you don't have to use it, just put it there.
You're not the one
Okay,
that's
I'll
supposed to use it.
Just, that's all we asked is it's there.
Okay, I'll put it in there, but you need to send a copy because I can't find it.
I'll send you a copy, I can do that, that's on the.
All the, in here, there is some where we put, the amount that you could,
I put
the maximum.
He put the
Okay,
max in there.
But it needs to state that the maximums are for the duration of the, whatever they sign. How long are them good for? 90 days? So that's all that's good for, is 90 days. Whatever they sign that, they got to come in and re-sign up again. They re-sign up again and then it starts over. But it has to state on there that, and I want to put in a maximum amount that can be spent per household per month.
All the maxes are in there that you wanted.
No, I want a total that can be spent per household per month.
Okay, David, I'm gonna be very honest.
I want a total.
This is the 10th revision that I'm working on. The last time
I told you, AJ, I wanted to and it said it couldn't be done, and you found out, yes, we can set maximums. Per the contract, and it's only going.
And we set the maximums,
I want a total amount per household though.
It's in there.
Okay, where is it?
It's what I proposed the last time. I can't remember what it was now.
I didn't see it in here. Larry sent me this copy in the mail.
It's all in the
There's
appendix.
there's not a maximum for the year because.
It's not for the year, it's for the
each individual line is its maximum and that's as much as a household can
Look at the
get.
appendix, it's all explained back in the appendix, it's clear in the back. There's a max set on everything that you wanted a max set on.
But it's got to state like I said, it's not for the whole year. That's not for the whole year. That's per their application.
And they're supposed to refile each month, right?
Right.
If they want assistance each month, they have to refile on that.
So
That's what it says in there.
Because it's not an ongoing, they have to say, hey, I need more assistance this month. They may not need it for 2 months.
But they have to reapply.
Correct.
But he can only spend that amount. It's not per the year, it's
That amount
per
is in
the.
there.
Correct.
Hey, I had one other thing, if you guys got that covered, or if Dave has a satisfactory.
Go ahead,
answer.
I'll look, see if it's in here.
Page 15. You got yours, AJ?
What do you want?
It's got automobile assistance, $250, but it doesn't have any time frame. Doesn't say whether it's a day, a month, a year, 2 years.
Each time they file. It's just like it's each time they file. Well,
I don't like that idea.
it's not, it's a maximum you're not gonna fix any car for that much, Tim. Unless the person's doing it themselves, then we can't pay that person for fixing their own car. So it limits them what assistance they can get.
$250 a time, though, they could
That's
have.
a month. That's 1 month.
Well, it doesn't say month after it, though.
That's each time, they can't file more than once a month.
I thought their applications were good for
See,
90
it
days.
says,
But anytime they need any assistance, they're supposed to.
then the reasonableness of the expenditure will be considered. Maximum assistance recommended is $250, but it doesn't have month, day. So you can come back every other day and say, I need 200 more.
They can't reapply every day.
And we look at, we review the application at that time, and if we approve it up to $250, then we do it.
And then how soon can they get more assistance? So
They have to reapply again.
But it's once a month, correct, Larry?
Actually, I think it's good for 90 days.
But
Well, put that in there.
Put that in there
Good
then.
for 90 days.
But they can't come back every week and ask for more.
No. This is when they apply, they can get $250. It's not gonna do any good to.
Yes,
But-
it's.
So that's why we gotta ask him questions, like, so they can only apply, are they only applying every 90 days?
Yeah.
So they can only get assistance every 90 days is what you're saying, right? Okay, so there, that answers that
No,
question. So
no,
everybody
but
gets-
he has, but he has paid, he's paid, and he's admitted to it, paying the same person in that 90 days, getting them gas 2 or 3 times. That's what we're trying to stop here. He has admitted to that.
I don't know if a gas has got a limit or not, but this, I have not helped anybody and gave them more than $250. Or I will not give anybody more than $250
So,
when they apply because.
so in that 90-day period, they get up to 250 is what you're saying, right? So if they, for 1 week, they need 20, the next week they need another 20, but once they hit the 250, they're cut
That's
off.
it, they're cut off.
And is that?
In a 90-day.
In the 90-day period.
Yeah, so why not
Okay.
put it in there?
That's what I'm
So
saying.
you
You gotta state the 90
You just need to
days.
clarify that. So can you clarify that,
You
all
can't-
these are for good for 90 days, up to the maximums so
Up
they
to the
can't-
maximum amount.
for 90 days? That's what they're asking. So
Yes, that's what
the
I'm.
maximums are good for each time they apply. So if for 1 month, they only need $100 for housing rental, but that next month they need 200, well, it doesn't hit the maximum, so they can get that.
Why
Is that
are we
why I get-
obligated to fix people's cars to begin with?
The state mandates that. Sorry to say, the state mandates
Do we
it.
have to fix their cars?
We don't have to fix the car, but that's also for gas, if they need gas assistance. We have to pay for, even if somebody just traveling through, it's weird how the state has it, but the state mandates it.
Is the 250 for pills and gas?
No,
No, it's just transportation.
There's
It's
different
Each
things, so
section
housing's
has
got
it.
its own section,
Yeah, so the 250.
medicine has its own
So
section.
that's a whole nother amount.
Well, it's got a lot
But
of
they
them.
can't, they get up to that maximum, so not everybody's gonna run to, I need to help with car
Page
this time.
14. Let me look.
But there are always habitual takers.
We haven't run into that
We
lately.
have not run into that. We interview these people very thoroughly. We've only spent
Well, the last
a
time
little
you
over
said this, you
$2,000. We've only spent a little over $2,000 this year, and we got a $21,800 budget.
But the last time you told me that, you said we help people out once or twice and then we never see them again. And then Tim proceeded to read off 8 fuel payments to the same guy over the course
That's
of
what
3
I'm
months.
saying. That's exactly what I'm
That's a
trying to prevent.
habitual-
And we,
If you
not
can't
out
get
of the
fuel
woods.
ever, then you shouldn't be driving. I'm not sure that's our responsibility.
These people have to, they get a job, and if they don't have gas to get to the job, they lose their job. Then
That's
they're back
one
here
time. What
again.
about the rest of the times? That's
The guy-
habitual.
It's not habitual. We're not helping them anymore. We helped them get out of trouble, and we've not seen them.
Well, from what I remember, the record that Tim read at that time,
That was from
it spelled habitual.
That was from 2023. Larry's learned from that mistake from 2023. 2024 was not even, it was less than half of what that.
We had a budget of about 25,000 in 2024, and we spent $8,000. This year, we got a budget of
What did we-
21,800, and we spent about 2,000 so
Well,
far.
2024's budget, didn't we have to spend some of that on, because
That
you
was
over,
23. That was 23.
So
you
we
went
had
over?
23,
But when
we
you put
went over.
guidelines in place, you base them on your worst experience. You don't base them on your current experience.
and that's what somebody's got.
2023 was the worst experience, so
Correct.
if you want guidelines done, you make them according.
That's
to
what
that.
that's what we're working on right now. That's why we got maximums in there. And that's why we need to clarify this, the maximums are good for 90 days. So if they hit that maximum, they're done until the next time they can apply. So Larry just needs to change that. He needs to add the quick guidelines, whether he uses them or not.
Didn't we do that at one time?
What?
Put time limits on it, month, day. and-
I can't remember. I think we tried, yeah, I think he
thought
wanted
we
to do.
did, see, and that,
We
and
did,
and he
and
wouldn't.
But he needs to clarify that. So he needs to clarify in there that it's up to good for 90 days each time they apply. So if they come back within that 90 days, like if they haven't hit their maximum, they can get a little bit more assistance. It just needs to spell that in there. And then they have to reapply in 90 days. So that's all he's got to do is specify that. So they can get more assistance within that 90 days as long as they haven't hit their maximum.
Okay, I got one more, are we done with that then? I got one more thing to ask Larry.
Well, before we just finish up with the guidelines. If I make the correction that you just said, are you going to be happy with these guidelines?
I am. You're gonna add that quick claim
The quick
sheet.
guide. He's got it now. He's got it in his email. A quick guide.
That's the only thing I had written down there.
And $250.
Well-
The 90-day.
Well, any of this.
There's several,
Any of
there's
it, all
several,
of
there's several of them,
Yeah.
right? Automobile food assistance, 280.
All of it
Households,
is
30.
90, is.
Poverty
is per
guidelines.
the,
That,
Per
the
application.
poverty,
Per
the
application,
poverty
that's what I'm
guideline
saying.
has a timetable on it,
So it just,
monthly.
Now, if you look in the back, let's say Appendix C, which is 24, page 24, monthly household supplies, that's 30 days. That's already saying how much we're going to spend. And let me check one of these other, the food. Maximum food per month, per week, per day. Those are already in there,
There's a,
page 23.
yeah. And I think the only one I had marked was the automobile assistance didn't have a time frame.
so they basically all need that kind of, just a little bit more.
Well, like he says, the others are in the back already.
Right, but you can't deny somebody food if they're really that
Yeah.
bad. But
And-
I don't think we've ever helped anybody with
We
food,
don't
have
help
we?
anybody with food.
Because you
I
got
have-
food banks and,
Right.
right,
So the 250 is 90 days in.
per application period.
per application.
All of them technically per application unless
All of them are
otherwise stated.
technically, unless otherwise stated, they're per application period.
Okay, David, what did you want to say?
Do we have a cemetery, a separate cemetery fund?
We've got, it's part of the general fund. There's a cemetery care and cemetery maintenance. One of them's $11,000 and one of them's $10,000 budgeted this year.
So.
So,
that's
so
where you
it's
pay-
not, there's no line item for them then? There's no line item anywhere for them?
Well, yeah, under
General.
in the general fund, there's a line item for cemetery maintenance and cemetery.
So why are we not putting them under cemetery?
I do.
No, you don't.
What do you mean?
When he pays his brother, when he pays the mowers, he puts it under,
Here,
no,
It comes out of care, doesn't it?
no, read it. It comes out of, get it out. It comes out of, it says something totally different. It does not say care of cemeteries or cemeteries. It says, geez.
Oh, there's three different mowers, correct?
I don't know that it says.
When you give us, when you send us these things, it states right in there.
It doesn't, I've got the contract here. It does not say which account it comes out
So it's
of.
coming to other services and charges.
Other services and charges. Why is it not under cemetery?
That's
Is that,
Because it's too hard for us to keep track
the
of.
state form. That's the way that's filled out.
is that where the cemeteries is under other services and
Right.
charges?
All of those things, almost
So
everything.
then why does the credit card say that some of the time?
That's the way that I have, economy,
It,
that's the way that the State Board of Account, or
well,
the
you
BLGF
got it in. It-
requires me to do it that way.
What do you mean they require you to do it?
The indirect services doesn't mean anything. Most of them are other direct services.
Because it's from the state, the gateway. code
Yeah, it is.
what's
It's over
that?
here. Other service charges, cemetery. Other service charges care of,
Because the
Cemeteries.
report he's printing off only states those.
that's a subcategory and that's a category.
Okay, yeah, but that's the
So they're coming out of the main category.
That's the budget form though.
Right.
See, that's not.
But them are the line items he's
Correct.
supposed to
This,
have.
this doesn't give you the subcategory. It just gives you the main category it's coming out of, which cemeteries is under other services and charges. So there's a subcategory.
Let's see, that's the line items, but see, we can't keep track.
Subcategory. That just gives you the subcategory.
Correct. It gives you the main
Yeah.
category it's in. So cemeteries fall under other services and charges.
But that, like I said, that, so does the credit card statement, so you
That's-
can't
so if
keep
there's
track
something-
of.
So if
of
there's
how
something,
much money we got, because if my memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty certain if you would figure up the 25,000 we spent for the care of the cemeteries, or for repairing the cemeteries, and total up what he paid the mowers, he went over his budget.
No, we didn't. No, didn't even come close.
How much do we have, what was our budget last year in 2024 for cemeteries? Yeah.
One of them was 11 and one of them was 10, 21,000.
And then we paid 25 to the
No,
cemetery.
no,
Yes, we did. We paid.
Last year. This year, we paid them $8,000. I didn't go
It
over.
doesn't matter. Last year,
David,
I'm
I
pretty
did
sure we
not go
went over
over
last
budget
year.
last year because we budgeted 25,000 for the cemetery.
Exactly. And you spent, and you said we only budgeted, you paid the mower guys. What do you pay them? 20?
Money had to get pulled out of somewhere else.
Yes, it had to have.
Into it to balance the.
Well,
cemetery.
yet to balance it out because he overspent it because
He
he
didn't
put it.
technically go
well,
over
we
budget,
did it-
but
we
he went
did-
over budget.
we probably moved
Yeah.
it, we probably moved that at the end of the year. Because we had a balance that account, so we probably moved that at the end of the year.
Well, he shuffled money around.
But he still went over budget on it.
But he still went over budget.
And his whole point with the mowers is as long as he doesn't go over budget, he has the free reign.
Exactly.
But he went over
It's
budget.
with all of this. If he, I mean, he wants us to sign all this stuff, but he just goes over budget.
You want to apologize now or later?
For what?
This is the 24 budget. I asked for 58,000 and you guys adopted 26,000 for the maintenance and you adopted 8,000 for cemetery care. We did not go over the budget last year. I ran the numbers at the end of the year and we didn't have anything in the red at the end of the year. I had to move some numbers from one line to another, but we did not go over budget.
Are you referring to the entire budget you didn't go over, or you didn't go over
Both.
budget on
We
any
didn't go
line
over,
items?
we didn't go over budget in
Then
anything.
why did you have to move money from one line item to
Well,
another?
okay.
If you weren't over budget
When-
on that line item?
Well, there you go.
A budget
That's
is
the
an
way it is.
estimate of what you're gonna spend.
I understand.
Okay, I may think I only wanna spend 10,000 on the cemetery, but maybe I only spend 8 on it. But I've got another line up here, like maybe office supplies, where I have spent $2,000 more than I should have.
That means you went over budget
In
on office supplies.
On one line,
Yes.
Cory, you don't understand.
I do.
At the end of the year, I am not allowed to be in the red in any fund.
I
The
understand.
lines, I can be over, but we're allowed before the end of the year
So
to
what's it
move
called
those
if
lines
you go
around.
over on a line item? What do you call
It's an
it? A
estimate.
rational person would call that over budget. We
Temporal-
budgeted
okay.
$2,000. I spent 4. I went over budget.
Temporarily, I went over until the end of the year comes, and then I'm allowed to move numbers around.
I understand that.
That's called robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
mean,
you can
and
do that.
not,
Yeah, but semantics don't change the fact.
But-
that you went
All right.
Over budget.
It's the way the budget.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we're over 3 hours. Let's,
Yeah.
let's-
David,
Have
have
you
you got that
anything
budget
else?
that I gave you?
Yeah, why, you need it back?
Well, I'd like to.
Why, I need a copy of it.
It's okay, I'll give you time.
Okay, give me a copy of it.
I got one other item before you leave, Larry. And it might be me, but when Larry sends me an email or sends me,
Figured out the problem.
is it,
What happens? I scan it, and when I scan it, it reduces it.
okay,
That's what I found. But you
because
can still
his-
read it though, can't you?
at times I can, but when I give him minutes, I was getting my copies back and it was like this, it was all shrink down.
some of that may be your printer,
So-
because
so
mine's not
just
that.
change
mine's
it.
not
No, but I can pull it up there and it shows right, and I hit print and it comes
that.
out like
Your
this.
settings on when you're
No,
PDF,
that
if you're
wasn't-
printing a PDF right there.
Larry, you got to
You can't
keep,
read, you can't read this?
you,
Not the best, But there's other
That's-
papers
that's
that you give me, just send it to
put 'em-
me, the
Next
full
time,
page.
just do like you did before, but you put them out there in your thing in the door and send us it and say, I've stuck them out here in my door.
I
Come
may
pick
not,
up
I
their
may
thing."
not be here when you come.
That's fine. You can stick it in that thing. You stuck them in that thing outside your
The
door,
office
didn't you?
may not be open.
Well, that's fine. We'll get it when the office is open.
But I
You know,
think, I
You get a
think how you're
computer.
printing your.
You get a computer, you won't have
Because
a
it's
problem.
like when you go in, before you hit print, it's saying, do you want to fill page or do you want to
Yeah.
shrink to
You
fit?
might be shrinking.
You may, I think you're shrinking the fit.
Check your printer stuff.
Yeah, so when you hit the first print button, it brings up the
But
box.
how come some of them show full screen and print fine? And
Because
it
they're all trying to
comes,
shrink to fit, and some of them don't need to shrink to fit. and some of
but
them don't.
he can mail me 5 papers. 2 of them print fine, and 3 of them don't.
Right.
You know,
And just this is way how they're formatted to when you print them.
Some
And
of them
I've
ain't
run
even
into-
all, it's not even all there. It's like he copied it and there's some of it missing and you can't.
I'd never experienced that.
Yeah, I have, and it's like it's
Do you
missing.
have a computer at home?
No,
And then trying to look it on your phone is always
yeah.
gonna change it, so
yeah,
I run into
that's-
getting that, so
Yeah.
it's just this technology, so.
Here, David, here's a check. Why don't you go sit and buy yourself a computer?
Wow, Larry,
Come on, Larry, be decent, will you, man?
The guy
Come
shouldn't have a
on.
job.
Oh, this
You
is
shouldn't- You
awful.
shouldn't have a job like
Gosh.
what you've got if you don't have a computer home where you can read things properly.
Oh,
Wow, Larry, jeez.
come on,
All right,
man.
anything else?
This is
Let's
awful.
stop that.
This is awful. Gee,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
put the time for the minutes.
8:40.
8:40. All in favor?
Aye. Now we need the copies of the stuff you're gonna copy for us.